Here we go. We are now live. We're going to go straight into our trailer. Oh, we love it when we do that. I think that's the first time we've just on the show we've got in there just a few seconds early off the back of some green room chat with the one and only Christopher Rhodes of 10 Comics. There he is. We'll give him a wave, double wave. We've been after this guy for a while. Very proud to have him on the show. An excellent creative leader with a positive vision of what indie comics can be, with a great vision. And we like positivity. Speaking of positivity, it's Bianca Yamakoshi. And tell you what, she's saying hello to us children. You know what us man-childs are like. We can't help being young. Sometimes we just need a lady to hold our hand in life, because sometimes we can be little boys. It is part of our eternal loving appeal. We can't help being young at heart, you know what I mean? Christopher, you can be diplomatic with what we just said. Welcome to the show, Bianca Yamakoshi, or as we like to call her, Bianca Gothic Noir Yamakoshi, with her Tothian dark blade, her pulp heat colour, and those emotional pencils which you just got to see. In fact, we did a trailer for Bianca Yamakoshi on our YouTube. We like to celebrate creative leaders on our show. And we've done a little trailer including all her work, mainly focusing on the ink work, which is quite striking, and which is obviously noir. We love noir. And also the pulp heat variant. So if you like color, it's got its own language, but obviously being classicists of noir, such as James Cagney, Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman, all those classic kind of movies like The Maltese Falcon, Casablanca, It's a Wonderful Life with James Stewart. Is that our favorite movie? Is it Casablanca? Is it The Maltese Falcon? They form a trinity where we almost can't separate them. They each represent a different paradigm of emotional storytelling. Kyle, don't get into it now. But welcome to the show, Bianca Yamakoshi. We welcome your warm wit and candor to our chat window. So thank you for being here. We appreciate it. We do like creative leaders to come and support our show, and we're very flattered that Bianca considers the 5 pillars of storytelling home. And you know what we're going to do next? We're going to do this. we like to do a little preamble of philosophy. I'm going to pull our hat down. It keeps our ears nice and warm. We're not sure if people think, you know, when you do a show like this, that you're an all-conquering mega Olympian of confidence. And we are quietly confident, but now and again we do get a bit shy. We have to cover our pink ears. So indie comics, rise up warrior, the fight has just begun. And that's how we feel indie comics are. The mainstream comics are doing their thing, or they're not so mainstream. They're not quite as popular as they used to be. They don't sell millions of copies like they used to do in the golden era, and they used to sell hundreds of thousands in the silver era, but these days they're in the tens of thousands. We think, rather side bet, that Christopher Rhodes and 10 Comics can catch him. That's what we secretly, that's it, go Jerry, go Christopher Rhodes. We think you can catch them. That's it, a bit of fist pump. We like that. The 5 pillars of storytelling live. Azrael is speaking to Christopher Rhodes of 10 Comics. We look at art, comics, movies, games, and toys that are here at the 5 pillars of storytelling. Why? Because art goes into comics. Comics can be made into movies, sometimes some classic noir movies. Oh, I don't know. There's nothing like a movie night on Saturday night at the movies. Just classic song by the Drifters, of course. And movies can be made into games, but games now have eclipsed movies in terms of revenue. So you can have an interactive movie experience now through games, if you're into that sort of thing. And games are raking in billions in revenue. And obviously games, you know, from there you can go into toys as merch, because art, comics, movies, and games can have a merch. You've got toys, you've got the ultimate playground in your imagination. And what does that mean? Well, that means that, you've got an unlimited effects budget in the privacy of imagination, whether it's Christopher or his son. They can play with toys and statuettes, become very popular in the era of the man-child. It's funny that Bianchi Makoshi said, hello, children. Actually, we are living in the era of the man-child in many ways, in which it's quite acceptable to be into comics now. You're not just seen as a geeky guy who should be locked away in his man shed at the bottom of the garden or ostracized because you're the husband that wants to create an independent comic. No, it very much now it's creative families and creative marital partners and creative relationships that support one another in these endeavors. You can end up with, we don't know, brilliant partnerships that can actually support one another. And that's a beautiful thing, because you can actually go shoulder to shoulder if you have understanding partnerships, and it's all about understanding partnerships. So we like the sound of that. It sounds very loving and caring, and that's what indie comics are all about. It's not just soulless corporateness. There's actually human beings with passion, courage, and conviction behind their projects, and you certainly got all three in terms of passion, courage, and conviction in your 10 comics, Christopher. So yes, we're here tonight with on the Sunday, the 20th of July. It's 10 comics we're going to be looking at, and it's 7 p.m. in Greenwich Mean Time, London, London, UK. It's Britain, folks. I'm not sure if it's Great Britain anymore, but it's certainly Britain, in a manner of speaking, or as we call it these days, humbly, the United Kingdom. So please like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe is just like a follow on X at the bottom of the fuselage. We hear some good things can happen. You only have to log in and subscribe. You don't have to pay anything. And every follow we get, we're currently poised. We're at 149 followers or subs on YouTube. If we get one more, we hit the grand 150, which we've been after for the last week or so. But to be fair, we're not hitting YouTube as hard as we are X. And our growth on X has done quite well. We're at 3,750 from memory, doing this from memory, 56. Currently, we're after 3,800. That might take us another half a week to achieve. But on the horizon, maybe 4,000. Who knows? We'll have to keep pushing, Christopher, yeah? Right then, host introduction. Let's go through this super quick. Hello there. Welcome to the 5 Pillars of Storytelling Live, where we talk art, comics, movies, games, and toys. I'm your host, Azrael, and my secret identity is Carl Prometheus. Storyteller, artist, promoter of indie creators, indie comics, and doing our bit to help grow the indie comic community, where we've done over 50,000 posts, most of them positive, with grace, gentleness, and generosity. Our style is universal. We can be watched by creative families, creative adults, and the creative younglings. Our motto is to listen, to learn, and to share. Inspiring quote: comics are an international language. They can cross boundaries and generations. Comics are a bridge between all cultures. Osamu Tezuka, legend. Now, guest introduction. Let's do a bit of this. Christopher Rhodes. I forgot to put the S on there. Christopher Rhodes, yes. Prose. He won't say it, but we're going to say it for him. 10 Comics at 10 Comics is Christopher Rhodes. There you go. Remember the S. Creator of 10 Comics. Premise: visitors from another world grant amazing powers to 10 people. Funny enough, 10 people chosen to represent humanity. Testimony: we say looking into that green light on our iMac to connect with our audience. We say passionate concept and writing from Christopher, a geopolitical superhero comic. Some might say with Watchmen ambience. We didn't put it in there, but we thought we'd say it. It does have a kind of ambience that reminds us of the Watchmen, with great art by the one and only Marcus Lima, whose work is so consistent. It reminds us of, similar in some ways to the artist on Next Evolution by Heather Veely and Martin Jimenez, that sort of style. We've backed issues 1 to 4 of 10 Comics. Now, issue 5 is here. Exclusive cover reveal for the 5 Puzzle Storytelling. We love exclusives. Fist pumping there from Chris. We like it. So welcome to the show, Christopher Rhodes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The intro I've maybe ever had in my life. I appreciate
it. No problem, sir. We're glad to have you here. And, Indie comics are all about, you can do it, passion, yes, courage, but what we like about what you do is consistency. You have the conviction to keep going. The first couple of issues we weren't sure, is he going to keep going? And then you kind of redid the Kickstarter, I think, for one of them, because I think you just missed and we were there right at your back saying, come on, Christopher, you've got to keep going. You can't give up now, because you've got your teaching job as well. You've got the pressure of that. Then you're trying to do a comic as well. We know all about that. If you're in education, it's the hours that you work extra that you don't get paid for. You can't just leave it at the checkout till. It's all the hours extra, the non-directed time. You get paid directed time, but it's the non-directed time you do as extras that's expected of you as a vocation because you love education. So basically what we would say there is, you're doubly drained, because not only drained from doing the main job with some fine human beings, of course, with the younglings, etc., but you've also, or young adults, but you've also got the brain freeze of doing admin after doing the physical job. So it's a double whammy. So we understand that very well. So here we go. Oh, we've got a question by Bianca Yamakoshi.
Oh, nice.
Curiously enough, I saw somebody with the exact same outfit as you at the airport some time ago.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Yeah, yeah,
interesting.
very much so. Oh, big shout out, by the way, to Bianca.
Yeah, doing very well on work for hire projects. Often posts portfolio piece every day, available for work for hire, available for movie posters, indie comics, and various art poster projects. Very flexible, versatile artist with a style that is probably, you'd say, timeless, if we're allowed to say that. Yeah, and she liked us dubbing her Gothic Noir. And oh, by the way, so was it our outfit, Bianca, or Christopher's outfit? Anyway, Bianca says hello to Christopher, and Bianca's very gracious in chat. We like somebody to lead the chat, and Bianca's very good at being a creative leader who leads the chat and offers that warmth and wit to the chat. We appreciate that, Bianca. Thank you very much. Look into the camera as we say that, of course, with our humble face. Azrael's outfit. Ooh, Ketonian shirts are everywhere. Really? I see. Azrael's outfit, Ketonian shirts are everywhere. That sounds intriguing. Tell you what, how do we show off the Ketonian shirt? We do it something like this. We need the elevator. There you go. We'll try and behave. That was modestly done, by the way. And we need to go down. Gosh, the energy it took.
I'm old enough to remember in, I guess, 1989, when those were all the bugs.
1989, huh? We didn't buy this one in 1989. We bought it a few years ago at a shop in a local town, not so far away from where we are. We'd say in the middle kingdom of Nottingham. Think of that, Robin Hood, that sort of area, or the world famous Nottingham Forest football team. We're not really into football that much, but it's just an affliction that we can't resist in terms of Nottingham Forest. Overpaid football has been paid tens of thousands of pounds a week. Hard to make that argument, but it is what it is. You teasing us, Bianca Yamakoshi. You devil, you. Right then, the big 5 questions. You may notice here, Christopher and Bianca, we've got, full enough, a spot red, and we love black and white and spot red. Do you know? Bianca Yamakoshi did a poster for The Crow, and you can never go wrong with black, white, and spot red. It's a classic color combination. If you haven't seen it, go to our artwork for hire thread, which we do specifically support creators like Bianca Yamakoshi, Marcus Lima. Anybody who wants to reply to it, basically. We even sometimes actually put our own stuff in, but we're very shy about putting our own work in, of course. We try to keep the focus on other people for now anyway, you know what I mean? And so anyway, the big 5 questions. Let's go in, and we're going in, folks. Let's get on with it, Kyle, before I forget my name. Right, who is Christopher Rhodes? We want to know about your influences, e.g. comics, movies, and music. Go for it, Chris.
Influence, so many of them. I'll start with comics. I got into comics when I was a kid. I watched the X-Men animated series of the 1990s, and I think, like many people, that was my gateway kind of into comics, and so I remember I love telling this story. I was a kid, and so I would go to Pizza Hut. I think you all have Pizza Hut here in the UK too.
Pizza Hut in the UK, we got
Yeah,
Pizza Hut.
good, perfect.
And we got a
Um,
question about pizza later, Christopher Rhodes. Brace yourself. Keep going.
And so I would go and get these little personal pan pizzas, which is perfect for like a 12-year-old. And they did a comic tie-in. There were these exclusive X-Men comics that you could only get there that were tying into the animated series. And so those were the first comics I ever got. And then that got me into reading, the mainstream stuff. And so X-Men and Spider-Man and all the whole Marvel thing. And that really got me into the genre. Movies, I was a big fan of the 90s, kind of sci-fi action movies, The Matrix, all those kind of
Oh, the
things.
Matrix. Yeah, funny enough, I think I was talking about the Matrix a little while ago. Yes, and yeah, it's kind of what can you say about it? It's absolutely bullet time redefining of perception, isn't it? The whole preset, the concept of time and space is put on its head, isn't it? Where everything you think you know is real is maybe a little bit different.
It is. Yeah, and it's one of those movies that just blew my mind when I saw it. And it's one of those movies that you can go back and watch again and again, and you get some new layer, some new clue, some new
Absolutely.
reference. And I think things like that really influenced my own storytelling, where it was kind of like, that layering, where it's like you can
The
go.
layering of it could be taken on so many different layers. We'd certainly like to watch the Matrix again sometime. Just saying.
Oh
Anyway,
yeah,
keep
oh yeah,
going.
absolutely. And then music. Um,
All the
I'm
music.
Oh yeah, I'm a '90s hip hop fan. So
Okay, tell us
Nas,
which.
Wu-Tang Clan, like all those, the lyrical, hip hop. Which again, I think is the same thing. You have to go back and you have to listen 5 times to catch all the references and all the
Yeah,
everything.
we would say we're a melody kind of guy ahead of a lyrics. That hopefully that doesn't make us feel shallow, but for us, the melody is the
Mhm.
gateway into the lyrics. Although some
Absolutely.
people get into lyrics first, and then if the melody's okay. But we obviously the both are the yin and the yang of understanding any song. No song ever truly is a perfect fit, but sometimes you can take lyrics from each thing, can't you? And they can be a celebration of where you're at a certain moment in your life.
100%. Yeah, and I say I'm really into the lyrics, but when I'm writing, I'm very much like you. I have to have melody only. I can't listen to someone else talk while I'm writing. So definitely something that's more melodic or something that you know where it's more the atmosphere that it sets. Oh, and since I'm in London right now, shout out my favorite band of all time. I think is actually Radiohead, which I met
Radiohead. Go
in
on.
college.
What's your favorite Radiohead song then?
Oh my goodness, picking a favorite Radiohead song is one of the toughest things
Didn't
ever.
expect you to say that band, but please tell us.
Absolutely, I got into Radiohead in college, so it was about 2000, and my roommates and everything, and then from there, I've jumped into every one of their albums basically, and so um yeah, Street Spirit probably has been my favorite Radiohead song of all time. That's off of Bins, I believe, off of their second album. But I can just throw their stuff on all day and listen to it. So
We like Creep, although we try not to be as a person. We try to be a decent guy.
well,
You walked into that as well.
it's a
Self-insult yourself. We try not to be, but we do like that song. Yeah, we like the. It starts off tender, then you get a bit of bite from the guitar as it explodes into kind of foot stomping crunchiness. But yeah, we'd like that. It's earnestly sung and one or two naughty words in it, but hey ho, sometimes it's an adult world for certain songs. Certainly for Radiohead, it's we would like to listen to more of their albums, perhaps. Maybe they're a band we haven't explored enough, if we must confess. Right then, how about we go into then the next big five question, which is what does Christopher Rhodes create? Elevator pitch. Tell us about 10 comics.
So, 10 is a superhero comic which combines the old school action of your favorite superheroes, the Avengers, X-Men, Justice League, with some of the sensibilities of the new stuff. So, your Invincible, um, your Boy, those kind of. But without kind of the cynicism. We're more hopeful. We're more optimistic. And so the way best to describe 10, and you did a really good job with the intro. Uh, 10 people around the world are given amazing powers by visitors from another world. And so now we flash forward to 5 years later, and these 10 superpowered individuals, they become heroes, they become villains, world leaders, living weapons, and so much more. And so we drop into this world now to see how these heroes have changed things and how the world has responded to having these beings. And so it's a comic that is full of action, adventure, full of kind of social commentary, and says a lot about the world in which we live in through the lens of superheroes. And so if you want something that kind of, reflects real world issues, can make you think on a kind of philosophical level, this is it. And if you want to turn your brain off and see superpower heroics and flying and punching and energy blasts, we have plenty of that too. So there's something in it, I think, for everyone. If you like superheroes, like this is a book to check out.
So basically, you've got a very cosmopolitan view of indie comics with your pitch, with your concept. Yeah, it's a world thing. It's different countries thing. It's different types of human beings thing. But it's we have our differences, but what unites us, kind of thing. Are we getting close?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I really wanted it to be, a world thing. I think superheroes are, kind of are global. And I wanted to reflect that directly in the comic. And so even with the setup, these people, they're chosen from around the world. They're chosen from the United States. They're chosen from the UK. They're coming from India, coming from China, Japan, they're coming from Kenya and Brazil and all these places coming together, with all their differences and their uniqueness to fight for these common causes. And you really see how that plays out. And you see kind of what the world would look like in those ways.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? It's the whole idea of superheroes, is you can have different flavors of people, can't you? Different powers, different manifestations of the human soul. Basically, human soul. We've all got human souls inside us. We haven't seen we take a picture of one of those yet and show us what a soul looks like. But if you take it out of the body, you think, well, is it man or is it woman? Is it Superman? Is it Batman? Is it Charles Xavier from the X-Men? Is it Scott? Cyclops from the X-Men, speaking in a Christopher Lambert Highlander voice. Our best impersonation, of course. We've got to kind of behave ourselves.
Perfect. Spot on, spot on.
French, Scottish. What are you going to do, man? So, yeah, Bianca says here, actually, funny enough, I used to listen to Radiohead non-stop during 2023. Here we go. Is that, well, okay, then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're in fine company here with Christopher and myself, Bianca. We have both been quite partial to Radiohead in our time. And is this a favourite song? Let's have a check. Probably Just and True Love Waits are the tracks that touched you the most. I say it touched you.
Nice.
Very good.
Yeah.
We'll have to have, I tell you what, we'll have to have a little listen to those, Bianca. And they sound, for a person with a powerful arts good taste, we would say those are probably choice cut recommendations. And we shall give those a lovely listen later. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna have to write those down. Not now, but we'll get those later.
Yeah.
So tell you what, those. Hey, we're going to put them in the chat. We'd like to test. We've had to fire the iMac keyboard to one side. The E's not working for some reason. We must have got too oil on our fingers or something from eating downstairs, and maybe we didn't wipe our hands. But the E stopped working, so we had to press even harder to get the E to work, and that doesn't work after a while. It randomly works. So we've got the PC keyboard actually here, so it's very clacky and we feel like we're typing on stilts, whereas the iMac keyboard is very low profile. So we're going to practice our touch typing some more. So we say thank you, Bianca, for the Radiohead. We like to involve the chat in our show, so because it's part of it holistically, isn't it? People come and listen to creative leaders do their bit, and then we even have creative leaders like Bianca in the chat leading the line and actually helping us with the chat and that, and coming up with their experiences and insight too, which is quite important that we all share together. Recommendations. Have I spelt that right? I think I have. There we go. Recommendations. Done that. That's it. We shall give those a listen, Bianca, in due course. Now then, here we go. The story so far. Tell us about 10-1, because we've got 10-1, 10-2, 10-3. Nobody wants to hear us talk about it. We want you to talk about it. We want to just listen to you, our mouth.
Absolutely.
10-1,
So
please.
yeah, first of all, just thank you so much for being a big supporter of 10. Like, I really appreciate it any and everyone who goes out and purchases and reads this book. 10-1. Yeah, this is my baby, in comic form. This was the first one. And so you see here this very first image of our first superhero. We call him Peacekeeper. There's a story behind that name that I can go back into, but, he's kind of the Superman slash kind of Captain America style figure of this universe. His story is that, and when you read the comic, you get in the first couple pages, he's a Black American military veteran. He's a Navy man who has now turned into this superhero. And he really plays that kind of super role slash Captain America again, like especially kind of like the Sam Wilson kind of Captain America role in the comic. And even this image that you see here, this cover that Marcos Lima did such a great job on, it's meant to reference what's the comic? I'm blanking out. I think it's Supreme, the Alan Moore.
The more Supreme Rob Liefeld comic.
Right, exactly. So you have Supreme, who's kind of a Superman pastiche kind of character. And I wanted to kind of evoke that same kind of image there. And so you see the very kind of Superman style pose, flying toward the reader, kind of soaring over you.
It's Superman, but without being obvious, and he's our favorite character. Just saying.
Nice. Yeah, I just watched the new movie on opening day last week.
We liked your review. Tell us more about it. What do you think of the Superman movie?
I really enjoyed it. I've been a fan of James Gunn. He does some unique things in that he built a very different world that I think we haven't seen in movies before, where it's kind of all the crazy stuff that you see in comics. He's kind of thrown in at one time and really kind of create this world where like anything can happen. And I think there's a
He's
lot.
not trying to be realistic, then he's trying to be true to the comics, then.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's basically kind of thrown realism out the window and gone in the complete opposite direction.
Yeah.
It's the most James Gunn movie I could say, and I mean that in the best way. And I think the thing that makes it work with that, because when you have kind of all that insanity, you can kind of get lost in if anything can happen, then what does it all mean? But the good thing that he does, and the good thing that the actor does, David Corn Sweat, is they ground it in the character. So you have the most fantastic world that you've ever seen, but you have the most kind of grounded Superman. He's a guy. He's kind of the guy that you could be neighbors with. He'd be a firefighter if he didn't have superpowers.
Guy next door, your neighbor.
And it was like, and sorry, I guess this is the Superman portion of the conversation, but it was funny. I may be the only person in the world who did this, but I'd never seen the original Superman movie, the first
Really?
movie. I'd seen all the others, but somehow I'd never seen the first one. And so the morning before I saw the new Superman, I rented the original Superman, and so I watched both of them in the same day for the first time. And it was really interesting. I think those two actors are my two favorite Superman actors. They both in different ways just bring the charisma, bring the believability. So, and that's really impressive, especially now, to kind of recreate the same kind of feeling that you had, back in the 70s, watching Chris Reeves bring the character to life for the first time.
Is it that naive nobility that they both share?
There we go. That naive nobility. I love the way that you said that, where it's like, I'm going to do good because that's the thing to do. And none of these other considerations, these complications matter because there's someone who needs to be saved. There's something that needs, to be rescued. And so I'm going to do it. And I think, it's just kind of beautiful. And so, yeah. And so I wanted my character Peacekeeper, to kind of really evoke that sense of kind of Superman, but still be his own character. And so making that kind of twist where he's, kind of, he's a Superman character, but he's also working directly for the government, for the American government. And so, they're flying him around to do things.
So then, You've
in
got the interior page. Tell us that we've taken the first interior page as we kind of catch up
Mhm.
to issue 5, which we're going to preview it more extensively. But we've just taken one page from each issue, from each
Oh,
what
perfect.
we're backed. So tell us about this first interior shot. Is this hinting at them being a global phenomenon?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so this first page, kind of really introduces us to this whole world, and kind of the premise of this book, where you see, this alien arrival, with, you see the people gathered around as these aliens who apparently have been around for a long time. Uh-oh. I'm back. And who apparently have been around for a long time. And we see kind of hints of what they've been doing throughout history, but now they're showing up publicly for the first time.
Yeah.
And now that we kind of had this first contact, what is that going to do for us as kind of humanity? And if you just on the first page, there's a bunch of different influences that kind of throw in here, both comics and other media. Kind of on the comics, if you've ever read All Star Superman, um, by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely, and that it has a very famous first page where they tell the story of Superman with 4 panels and 8 words.
Yes.
And I want to get that kind of vibe. I can't do 8 words. I have to talk a little bit more, but
No.
I wanted to get that vibe where you have a few panels, relatively little dialogue to kind of introduce the world, and then there's a whole bunch of kind of movie influences that are here. If you've ever seen Independence Day, with the idea of these aliens showing up in the sky, if you've ever seen the '90s show X Files, and this idea of kind of these extraterrestrials working behind the scenes, beaming up people and everything. A lot of that is going into here to kind of influencing what this new kind of very public encounter with extraterrestrials will be like, and how they would kind of change us as a species.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that's our favourite page from issue 1. And we've got another commento from Bianca. Christopher, have you heard Jonathan Davis Creep cover on the Corn MT Unplugged? It's so beautiful.
Oh, I
Mm.
don't think I have. Wow. Yeah, no, I know Jonathan Davis in Corn. I didn't realize that they did a Creep cover. I have to go back and watch that unplugged.
We're going
Um,
to write that
okay,
down. We're going
yeah.
to write that
Thank you,
down.
Bianca. You're making me a playlist in the middle of this.
Yeah, playlist. I'm going to have to write that one down there, Christopher. Here we go. Jonathan Davis. Here we go. Just write that down. Jonathan Davis. Creep cover on Corn TV. See, Bianca, we're doing your recommendations in real time. I write it down with a big pen, and
Absolutely. I
over
have
the
my document on my phone.
well, yes, and over the top of our notes for the a noir piece that we're meant to do for It's a Wonderful Life. We might yet do that ourselves,
Oh,
actually, as an independent section for our movie. So I think we've got one piece in that set category. We need another one. We're going to do It's a Wonderful Life. It's a story about redemption, of course. But yes, that's a good recommendation, Bianca. Jonathan Davies Creep cover on Corn TV Unplugged. We shall take up your beautiful recommendation. Thank you
oh yeah.
very much. There you go. Love heart right there. All right, then. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. We like a bit of recommendation. So thank you. Just put here in the chat. Thank you for your beautiful recommendation. If I can type on it.
Absolutely.
Try that. Yeah.
I think shout out to the old school typing. I actually really like the typing sound. I feel like it adds to the ambiance.
Oh, that's a writer thing. They love the clackiness of the PC keyboards a bit. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh
like
yeah,
the ambience of that.
100%.
Could you hear our keyboard typing there? My
Uh,
gosh.
just now I could, and yeah, I really appreciate it.
Okay, right, yeah. So here we go. Right, we think that's our favourite page from issue 1. We've really enjoyed the first issue. It was poised for issue 2. Speaking of which, the story so far. Tell us about 10-2. Tell us about this cover by Marcus Lima, and then we'll get into the this part
Mhm.
of the first page of the second issue.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite covers that we've done. If you look very closely into the eyes there, you kind of see what this new hero, who she's up against reflected. And that's supposed to be meaningful. Her code name is Iris.
And
Yeah,
we see the reflection in the eyes. If you look closely, folks, you can actually see what's the bad guys she's going to be facing are actually in the iris of her eyes. Pray continue, Chris.
oh yeah, definitely. This came out amazing, and again, big shout out to Marcos for making that happen. And I really love this character. This new superhero that we introduced here, Iris, Felicia Ferrara. She's another one of these superpowered people. She's down in Brazil. You see this kind of smirk on her face as she's facing down these bad guys, and that very much is kind of telling of the character. She's enjoying what she's about to do. This kind
Yeah,
of
we will with a smile like that. We want to take her on. We'd probably
you don't want to mess with this one.
or just leg it.
Absolutely. And it's just like, we have this character and she kind of leads a double life. On the one hand, she's a superhero, but she's also this kind of media mogul. And so the idea is that, she runs this giant empire, almost kind of like a Rupert Murdoch or one of those people. She has the TV stations and the newspapers and stuff. And what that means is, she has all this information about everybody. All the leaders of the world, the rich and powerful, she knows their secrets. And so even without her powers, she's a dangerous and formidable person, much less because, she can punch you through a wall if you are a bad guy. And so, we really kind of dive into this really complex character. It's almost kind of like there was a show in America called Scandal. I don't know if it became a big deal in the UK or not, where it was about Olivia Pope was the main character, and she was in Washington D.C. She intimately knew the president, and she was this person who, her job was to fix things when someone, got in trouble, someone rich, someone powerful, and so she knew all the secrets. And so I kind of think this character is kind of like an Olivia Pope if she was a superhero.
I see. I tell you what, she's got what we'd say something about her. There's something intriguing, isn't there, with somebody with an iris like that can actually, she can smile where she's facing the bad guys. You're thinking there's somebody you wouldn't want to mess around with, what I mean, when they're coming at you with a smile. And let's just say, and she's got that power and that confidence. Oh, have we got something that you're holding up here?
Yeah, I don't know
That's the other variant cover, isn't it? We like that. Let's put you on big, big screen. Here you go.
Oh, perfect. And I want to show that because one, this was actually done by Marcus Jimenez, who we mentioned a little bit earlier.
Marcus Jimenez.
Yeah,
Martin. Yes, of
couple
course.
years ago we were doing.
Now we see it. Yeah.
It was
We
great to,
talked about this in the green room chat, weren't we, before we started? Yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely. And so it was great to kind of connect with him and get this.
Yeah, he's done a great job though, hasn't he? Super.
Absolutely. So you kind of see her in fighting mode, which is great. And so I just wanted to give a big shout out to Marcus. Again, another amazing artist who I've been blessed enough to work with. And so so we get this set up, and then I think we jump to that first page. We're in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It was also really nice because
Brazil, so again, it's this kind of global, cosmopolitan, different countries, different global settings, different countries. It's not just the UK you're in or America, not just the typical Western countries that feature in America comics. Usually it's America, nothing else. But here you've got South America.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this is one of the really fun things about this comic, just for making it. I get to research all these different countries and different cultures in order to make this kind of really cosmopolitan book. And this was really nice, this issue in particular, because our artist, who again you see doing an amazing job here, Marcos Lima, is Brazilian. He's in Brazil right now, and so pretty early on in the process, he got to draw some of his home country, which I just really appreciated. And so
his sense of reference is excellent, and it's it reminds us of as well. It's got that deceptively simple but elegant and hard to do style which Dave Gibbons has in The Watchmen. Funny to bring that up again, actually, is that how it's descriptive and just right, just enough. It covers all the information you need, but try and do it. It's a lot harder than you think, and it needs reference. Speaking of Watchmen, we do remember a piece by Bianca Makoshi. Actually, a couple of times, actually, she's featured the Watchmen. with her gothic noir style. And I tell you what, she's offered some Tothian, noirish kind of vibes to the Watchmen, which kind of relates to its darker roots. And the Watchmen does have dark roots, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's for example, you could read the Watchmen in black and white without the color information, and it would still have black and white anchor holds. It could be reprinted in and has been reprinted in black and white, and the color version, obviously the color information in it by John Higgins, was very groundbreaking at the time for traditional color. I mean, that was pre-computer coloring, and just gorgeous, the coloring on the Watchmen. So
Yeah,
yeah.
no, and again, I appreciate you've on more than one occasion compared our comic to Watchmen, which it's probably maybe the highest praise you can get in kind of the superhero genre.
The Watchmen is a very geopolitical book, isn't it? It covers world events, and there's a certain ambience about 10 which reminds us of it. So the ambience of a comic, and to suggest movement in a comic, is all part of it. Time and space, yeah. And obviously, to me, there's something about the Dave Gibbonsness of Marcus Lima's work that just reminds us of Dave Gibbons. You know what I mean? So, it's sometimes there are links to things in popular culture, and we like the fact that you're on issue 5 and trying to carve out your own piece of pop culture on standing on your own 2 feet. While you appreciate, we're sure, mainstream, or not so mainstream anymore because they don't sell as much as they used to. While you appreciate comics as they are, you also appreciate, by the looks of things, the potential of indie comics to tell your own story, and we like the trueness of your vision.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and I definitely, I'm trying to build upon, a lot of those greats. And so, like you said, what Alan Moore and what Gibbons did in Watchmen are very much inspiration, both for the storytelling and for the art. Much like that book, Finding Marcos was, really great because I wanted someone who had that very clean kind of art style. Like that, it shows enough to convey exactly what you want to see, in a really kind of in a really lush way, that gets the point across, but also just kind of beautiful to look at.
Speaking of John Higgins, I mean, you're welcome, Carl, says Bianchi Yamakoshi. Indeed, I've learnt about colour work back in 2021 with John Higgins' example.
Nice.
John Higgins, I mean, his artwork on The Watchmen was an intimate example of what colours can bring to the table. You know what I mean? As the one where we thought this person just isn't just filling in the typical colours, what superhero costumes are, what the sky is, but actually using colour as narrative, colour as emotional metaphor. And you see that very much in Rorschach's world, the hero with a quote unquote heart, and he does have a heart. And Rorschach in the prison, which was our first experience of The Watchmen, issue 6, the opening page. Once we read that, I think we were on a babysitting job at the time. We just got a delivery from the Sheffield Space Centre, a kind of Midlands, a Middle Kingdom kind of, Northern Middle Kingdom kind of comic shop. We just got our postal delivery in from the Sheffield Space Centre. Free plug for you guys. You're still there, apparently, allegedly.
Oh.
And we got our mail-in bundle, as you do. And issue number 6, we were thought, well, read this unusual one first. And after that, Spider-Man, the Hulk, the X-Men, none of it was quite the same again. It just took an absolute wrecking ball to the superhero genre completely. Not sure about deconstructing it, but actually smashed it, blew it apart. But indeed, one thing, Bianca's saying here, she learned about the colour work back in 2003 with John Higgins' work, for example, was just how colour can be used as an emotional metaphor. And funnily enough, if you actually see Bianca's pulp-inspired heated colour work, it's again about using colour as narrative in comics. That you don't always have to be literal with color. It can be used in a psychological sense, an emotional sense. It's not just necessarily coloring A, B, C, but it can actually be A, C, E. It can allow the reader to put their input and think, why is the color being used like this? For example, in a recent piece he did with Hitchcock's Vertigo, a piece inspired by that, you've got the classic green and red colors from Vertigo, and the color, I think, in one of the color pieces that Bianca created was obviously red and green to reflect the duality of the female character, because it's all about her in the film pretty much. And then you've got this retired investigator who's trying to find out what the deal is with this mystery woman. You know what I mean? I think the two characters, I think it's a very different kind of love story. You know what I mean? Where there's perhaps a conflict between the mind and the heart, as there always is in any great love story. You know, it's not just straightforward, is it? No love story is straightforward, and that's what makes great fiction. But yes, we're talking about color as emotions, aren't we? And color, that's the one way color can be used very effectively. And with Bianca's further saying on The Watchmen, the palette, it's great. The influence is undeniable. But glad that John Higgins' palpable and groundbreaking and innovative color psychology and innovation is etched into your influence, Bianca. It's we've never forgotten it, and ever since we experienced it, we thought color is narrative. You know, it's linked to narrative. It's not just filling in the colors of the characters. You know, there's a bit more to it. And Bianca's further saying here, so we like it when people in chat are offering something to us. We're on a roll here with Bianca. Mm-hmm. Fraser Irving is the master, though. She's very impressed by Fraser Irving. She likes this artist, and we'll have to have a little investigate of Fraser Irving. We've heard of him. It sounds like Bianca Yamakoshi is an X-Men fan, and we will maybe have a little look at some X-Men comics with Fraser Irving and find out what the buzz and is about regarding his reputation. Is certainly there's noises about him, and we think we wouldn't mind trying an X-Men volume with his work. If anything that is a good example of recent good practice by modern masters, we feel it behooves us all to check it out, you know. And we could read some X-Men. We're fans of Jack Kirby's original X-Men, so and his prodigal sons were Scott Summers of the X-Men. Nice. And obviously he had his romance with Jean Grey, of course. So yes, Bianca, Fraser Irving is the master, right? Well, that sounds like something we've got to check out again. Well, we will do so. So I'm going to put in here. Thank you for the color, for your choice cut opinions on color as narrative and narrative. John Higgins, and the phrase. If we're going to do this, Fraser Irving master to check out. There we go. I tell you what, does that sound clicky enough for you as a writer?
Oh, no,
there we go.
Well, big shout out again to Bianca. Anyone who's watching this now or on the recording, if you don't know Bianca's work, go check out on Twitter or on any of the social media handles. What Bianca does with art, with color and everything is just amazing.
There you go. Praise indeed.
Absolutely. Shout out, by the way, to the colorist here on 10. I want to give credit where credit's due. To Sal Monaco, who colored our first couple of issues. To Marcos Limo himself, who colored a lot of his own work. That cover that we saw, he colored himself and everything. And then to Ralph Singh, who's done work on our most recent issue. Without the colorists, the art would be very different. And what they bring to the table just really makes this thing come alive in a way. And so I'm always amazed and impressed with what they do.
Tell us about 10-3. What's going down? We've got people with samurai swords. Sorry. It's manners. Let's just mind our manners. Go on, Chris. Take it away.
Yeah. So 10-3. Really have fun with this issue. You see almost kind of like a Fight Club setup here. This was a fun issue because it's kind of has a dueling perspective going. So you see these two figures in the middle fighting. The man, the guy on the right here. He is a very intimidating, kind of almost ninja figure. We call him the Purifier. Sounds kind of sinister, and he's of the 10 superheroes, he's kind of the vigilante of the group. So, it kind of has like a Daredevil vibe or Punisher or Deadpool kind of thing. He is willing to get his hands a little bit dirty. He carries a sword, he carries blades, and so things get a little bit more intense when he's around. Criminals that come up against him don't walk away often.
They
We
won't
go
have any legs to walk away with, by the looks of things.
exactly. We go to Japan for this one. So he's the
Oh,
Japanese.
to Japan. Oh, tell us
Yeah,
more.
yeah, absolutely. So it kind of has like you get a little bit of the kind of ninja vibe. You get the katanas and all these kind of things. And so he's going up against kind of the yakuza. Although they shout out to the comic American Yakuza, Charlie McKelvey and a bunch of other folks. Uh, if you're not checking out that book, another indie comic, is they're doing really great things. But I had to tell my little kind of my Japanese mafia story, and so you have this guy who's kind of been running through the underworld, taking out criminals and everything, and then he comes across an assassin, and so you see this woman here. Her we don't know her name. We don't know her real name. We only find her code name. We call her a Charlotte Corday, and this is one of those kind of deep dives that we like to do in Ken. I found this name. I was kind of researching assassins. Hopefully, no one ever looked at my Google history because it's like, I'm looking for assassins and all these kind of things, but it's for the comic. And I came across this historical figure who was an assassin during the French Revolution. And I just kind of, really love that name. And so it kind of crafted this, female assassin who kind of has her own motivations. Like, will these two characters be enemies? Will they end up being allies? And so we kind of play from both of their perspectives throughout this issue as they're kind of navigating this setup between these different gangsters that they're kind of both fighting, and then even as they're being set up by someone else.
So everything's very interconnected, interwoven. You're looking at a geopolitical tapestry.
Yeah, and that's the thing. One of the really important things for me as a creator is that if you ever buy an issue of 10, you get a full story. So each issue is a complete story you can read on its own, beginning, middle, and end. But even as we're doing that, we also are starting to sow seeds across the different issues. And so one of the things that you start to see is that somebody's after these superheroes. There's some kind of conspiracy afoot. There's a lot of
A
things like
conspiracy, you say? That sounds like a kind of Watchmen kind of vibe on there. But keep going. No, we like
yeah,
it.
you're seeing my
Right.
influence. You're seeing my influences come through. So
So
yeah,
was Watchmen an influence for you? A genuine influence with
it
this?
absolutely is. It absolutely is, which is why I appreciate
Why wouldn't
that
you though?
seeing it. Oh, absolutely. If you're gonna have to be influenced by anything, when it comes to comics. But yeah, but that idea that there's something afoot, right? There's something just behind the scenes, and particularly, you know, you can imagine, if when you have superheroes, right? When you have these people who have this power, these powers, there are going to be people who react against it, and there are going to be people who come after them for whatever reason. And what we start to see kind of build each issue is that there are people who have technology that shouldn't exist, but it does. Technology that seems to have been designed to kind of neutralize these heroes, and they're increasingly coming out of the woodwork. And that actually feeds really into this issue. I won't spoil all the details, but kind of trying to figure out, okay, what's going on, who's after us, where are they getting these laser guns, where are they getting these high tech toys that are
Like shadow governments, black ops kind of skunk works, that we probably, if we were looked in the mirror, if you can look in the mirror, if we just closed our eyes and thought about it for a second, we'd think actually that makes sense that they would sandbag their technology that they have behind the scenes and just drip feed us and monetize us to death with high taxes and every little increment of iPhone you pay another £1,000 for, but
yes,
they've probably
yes.
got an iPhone that's pure glass with, I don't know, you probably connect to the side of your head or something.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And so you see this kind of slow drip of the technology, like you say, it's coming out piece by piece, and it's like, okay, if this is what we see, what do they have behind the scenes?
Exactly.
What's waiting for us?
So you're giving the reader credit then. We like this. We talked about it in the show last week with Star Million of the excellent Orium Saga, which before we can put that in our top 5 indie comics ever, we need probably to see issue 4. We love its existential noir. But what we like about you, we think you're possibly one of the other creators that could actually break our indie comics top five, because
Oh,
you're not only
nice.
passionate, not only have you got the concept inspired by a legendary book that we adore. And if we were going to do an indie comic, we might be influenced by The Watchmen to a degree as well. How much? Who can say? But I'll tell you what, it's what Star Million John has done is he's asking questions
Hmm.
and letting the issues organically unravel. So instead of it being ABC and feeding you all the answers, if you've got an intellectually curious mind, then basically what he's doing is giving it you A, C, E, and you fill in the gaps with your thoughts in between. So not everything is revealed in the first issue. We've had this debate actually on X for a little while now about how much you should show. For example, is it about the setting? Is it about the characters? In your book, it's about both, and so it should be. And then you've got the idea of, well, Out July copped a bit of heat because he didn't reveal all the information in Item 1. But what we like about what you're doing with 10 is similarly, you're not revealing everything in issue 1. It's this gradual unraveling and unveiling of these geopolitical machinations that are coming from dark, shadowy places. And you're giving your reader as credit for having a brain, which we think is a great approach.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's about trusting the reader, about giving them enough to be intrigued, and to want to come back for more. And but really trusting that people are going to pick up in each issue and between the issues some of the things that you're laying down, and it's going to pay off in the end. I want to be if I build up something, I want it to pay off. Big shout out to John, by the way, to Star Million, another great
Oh, yeah.
supporter.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy. It's been championing indie comics for about the same time as us. Actually, we saw his Orium project, and we just were all over it like a rash. Of course, we connected to it immediately, and we liked what he was doing with promo, and we kind of just started doing the positive promo thing for indie comics at the same time. There weren't a lot of us. There's Tom Part, of course, who's quite good, but there weren't many people in that medium bracket of 1 to 1,000 subs or followers bracket, and that's where we feel a lot of the focus needs to be. You know what I mean? But that, and where you're trying to push the Sisyphean boulder, and you need lots of shoulders to the boulder to actually get people that recognition. There's lots of talented people, but talent, unfortunately, is and hard work are not enough when it comes to actually getting recognition in the indie comics arena. Marketing plays a big part of it, how you market it, and timing, and all sorts of things. Right then, just before we go into the interior page here, which looks exquisite, by the way, by Marcus Lima, Bianca Yamakoshi saying, thank you, Christopher, and also Carl, for praising my work. You're very welcome, Bianca Yamakoshi. Your work speaks for itself. It's very powerful. Bianca's been with us pretty much since the beginning of the 5 pillars of storytelling, sees value in the promotional work we're doing, and in return, for her and all creative leaders, but particularly we've known her a little bit longer than most creative leaders out there. We've supported her work in return with positive comments and trying to give her the exposure as a work for hire artist. As somebody who used to do work for hire in education, it's not an easy path to travel. It's not. It can be very pressured. It can be very stressful, and you've got to life is full about making enough money as a work for a hire person to meet the bills, and we certainly we can relate to that from our previous life in that arena. So yes, praising your work, Bianca Yamakoshi, easily done for you, absolutely. And another comment by Bianca. Did you research Japanese culture? Did your research on Japanese culture take you along, Christopher? I once drew a pitch package for a samurai theme comics, and I spent forever for garments only. So actually doing that research, you can just get lost in garments alone, let alone all the other stuff you got research. How did your research go, Chris?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I did a lot of research for this comic into Japanese culture, definitely. In terms of the costumes, in terms of the culture. One of the things that you see for this hero. purifier, if you look at its mask really carefully, it's a Kindle mask. And and I did a lot of research about Kindle. My son, my 10-year-old, he doesn't do Kindle, but he does fencing. And there's a similar mask, and so that kind of drove me down the rabbit hole. There, I did a lot of work on kind of what Tokyo was like, where this set on this idea of what would a vigilante be like in a Japanese setting. What would that seem like? What kind of crime and those kind of things. Also, this other character that we see, Charlotte Corday, she actually comes from a combination French and Vietnamese culture, which I think we hint at in the issue. There's some reference to it, and so that took me down a completely separate rabbit hole. Her outfit, for example, is very much kind of a mix of kind of traditional Vietnamese dress, but kind of modernized. Again, she's an assassin, and so I wanted something that both had that kind of sleek look, but also touched on the kind of cultures that I'm trying to represent here. And so a lot of work going into that. Yeah, Bianca, like you said, just for the garments, much less getting into all the other aspects of it.
It's funny, there's an artist who is a great wing. It was great work with Chuck Dixon on Nightwing. His name's Scott McDaniel, and
Yes,
we learned how to approach. He says for the developmental stage of drawing, where the script is meeting the concept work for any given comic. He actually recommends himself 100 references to cover into the book. 100 references, and if we were doing reference, we'd actually that would be the benchmark we'd use for our own comic. It'd have to be a minimum of 100 reference images, which you can pull off these. If you go to your local library, that's going to take some time, with dusty old books. But although if you've got a good reference collection, which we have just over there,
nice.
We haven't done the studio tour yet. We might do that if we reach maybe, I don't know, 500 YouTube followers. We're dreaming, aren't we? But or maybe we'll do the Billy Ocean, Caribbean Queen kind of dance at 1,000 subs. We're joking. Maybe we're not serious with that one. But it's a great song to dance to, Caribbean Queen. But only in private. Just saying, Christopher. Only in private. But no, seriously, Scott McDaniel recommends a minimum of 100 photo references, because you might have an alley scene, you've maybe got a Black Ops helicopters, you might have, funnily enough, Japanese culture in an issue, or a samurai outfit, you know what I mean? And then, can you draw a sword at different angles? There's all sorts of things that you might have to include, so if you've got the concept work of doing character turnarounds and stuff like that, emotional poses, body language, there's a lot to consider in a comic. It's if you look at Will Eisner's book on how to do comic book storytelling, I mean, he's got an entire chart where you've got to consider wardrobe, lighting, ambience, such as wind, sunshine, time of day, and stuff like that. What we call ambience, and temperature of a given comic, how to suggest subtle movements. It's all there in the Eisner book, you know what I mean? He of the famous The Spirit from the pulp era. So yes, Bianca, you really got into it there with a reference question, and we're going to say, pity we can't do emoji kind of likes. We don't have many powers as the lead of the show, so we're gonna have to find out how to do all the kind of mod type stuff that moderators do. But we're gonna say, Bianca, thank you for the reference question. We love questions on reference, actually. Question, super cool. We thought it was super cool. And it's allowed a bit of discussion as well. We'll call it the discussion point. Super cool discussion point. And we like that. It just makes the show a bit more interactive. So I'll go over there, put a comment in. There you go, Bianca. Thank you for the reference question. Super cool discussion point. We like a bit of that. And who we got in the chat? We got John Long. He's going, hey, Kyle, how's it going? Well, I'll tell you what. We've put hello, John Long. Funnily enough, John Long, here's something we prepared for earlier. Funnily enough, you didn't think we were prepared, did you, John Long? But we have got, let's see if we can just get this on the big screen. We have got Heavyweight. It's a bit reversed, so in the mirror, but this is his book, Heavyweight, about how can we do it in the movie voice. We've got the other one here as well. Issues 1 and 2. It's, this one is our favorite cover. It's a, how would we say? And I tell you what, the artwork inside it is just check it out. Just check it out. Just
Oh, that's beautiful artwork.
some beautiful artwork. Go on, give a shout out to your artist, John Long. Go on, you can do it. Put it in the chat. And just we've got to read this yet, But we have got the T-shirt, which we wore on the show a few times. So yes, John Long, heavyweight. Let's see if we can remember our salesmanship. If people are creative leaders come in the chat and they've got a book, independent comic book, we'll do a bit of a movie voice kind of sales promo for them. So heavyweight is a conspiracy of dark politics with heavyweight boxers with golden blood and Jean-Claude Van Damme nose crunching kickboxing action. It's kind of like that, swirling conspiracy, boxers with gold blood and nose crunching action. Those are 3 signature selling points for heavyweight. And we have to say, we backed the paper comic books, and John Long was very, very generous with his efforts to bring us the T-shirt. We appreciate that. So, and then we wore it and do a bit of product placement. We do that now and again. And but don't YouTube don't come after us. No, we didn't exchange vast sums of money so you can take your 60 or 70%, whatever it is you do for super chats. So yes, and he's part of a low gate team. He has, what's his artist's name? It's Carlos. It's John Long does the John Long does the writing and he's the creator of the concept, and basically Carlos is his artist, and his wife is the editor and the accountant for the operation. So it's a 3-man team, you see. For your book, Chris, how many people are involved? Is it you and just Master Lima?
Oh, so good question. Yeah. So I'm writing. Marcos is on the art. So pencils, inks. Sometimes he colors himself as well. We've also worked with a couple of other colorists. Sal Monaco, shout out Sal, did the first couple of issues. Ralph Singh, who did 10 number 4, and then a bunch of guest cover artists that we've done for variant covers. I don't want to pick anybody if I shout out all of them, but shout out to all the guest cover artists. And then last but certainly not least, Buddy Baudouin on the letters. Buddy Baudouin, people may know. Amazing letterer and writer on his own right too. He's done a lot of work. He's done work for DC, for Image, I believe, for Dark Horse. And so was really, really blessed to get him. And he's always on board, and he's really taught me a lot about the creative process. In addition to just being a fantastic letterer, even on this page you see.
But isn't that amazing, Chris? That we're now actually hiring creatives from the quote unquote big 2, or they're not so big 2 anymore. You see that parity. We're getting closer on.
It really is. It's amazing, like to work with somebody who's done DC Comics, who's done Dark Horse and all the these major labels that I grew up with. It's really incredible, and I really think it says something about the indie world that we see that kind of back and forth now.
Before, there is that backwards and forwards now. You see, there is a future as indie comics explode. We'd just like to say, by the way, John Long, shout out to you and your wife and your family who came out in force that night. We had him as a guest. You wouldn't think it was his first time. He absolutely blew us away. We did a bit of green room chat, and then once he got past the first one of the questions, his confidence just skyrocketed. And a very humble gentleman who discovered the fountain of youth, and you wouldn't think he was a granddad. Seriously, you're kidding us, man. And what we liked about that show was we had everybody in the chat. Bianca was in the chat that night. It was very nice, and other people as well supporting us. We had business advice that night, an arm of his family supporting him, and everybody behind him. And that's it, isn't it? Until you want to move that Sisyphean boulder, Get your family behind you, get your creative partner behind you, your brilliant partner, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whoever it is you have in your life that supports you. Get everybody to support you and take that support to social media. See if you can actually expand that network. It's all about networking. Getting that marketing network of support to make you feel good. And you've got a stressful day or a pressured day. Indie comics are work for hire, all of this stuff. It can be quite pressurizing to do, to meet deadlines and stuff like that. It's commercial art, isn't it? It's art, yes. It's also commercial. You want to get paid, you want to pay the bills. So it comes with inherent pressures. Of course it does. Of course it does. Hey, here we go. You won't believe this. You're going to like this one, Christopher. Got 10 comics in my library on Global Comics.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, yeah. Keep looking there. I'm gonna upload. I think I have the first 2 issues up there already. I'm gonna upload some more soon. So, so much appreciated. Yeah, global comic is really growing this big too. Um, and I think it's one of those things like some of us as indie creators, we've gotten in early on global comics. I really think it's going to be the next big thing in terms of kind of comic distribution. Um, yeah, definitely, John. I really super appreciate the support. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
and shout out to Chris and everyone.
And what we like is that you basically give people a way in with an affordable, approachable option, with a fair price. And then if they want to upsell to the variants and the merch and other such things, or paper copies, which will add the shipping, then you can do. But for those people who are perhaps in Britain and want to support you in your country, then we don't have to worry about the shipping. It can be shipped digitally, which makes a big difference to people. After all, if you sold 1,000 digital comics, that's you don't leave that kind of money on the table, do you?
Exactly. Yeah, no, digital is the way to go. Like I read a lot of comics digitally myself now, and I love having that option where, like you said, anywhere around the world, you can order this comic. And yeah, and I really want to reach as many people as possible, and to be reached by as many people as possible. So many comics I found digitally, including John, and I can't wait to catch up on Heavyweights.
Yeah, yeah. Heavyweight's actually available, free to read on Global Comics, and to me, we got addicted to chapters 1 to 6, and 1 to 6, and then we're waiting for the next chapter came out with tongue hanging out. And then what we like about John Long is that he hits every promo like clockwork, like the atomic clock.
Love it.
Turning up, consistency, turning up. Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah, if you've got the talent, great, but turning up. We have some really nice people that do great work, but then they don't turn up for the next promo. You're thinking,
yeah,
if
exactly.
you turn up a few more times with that, we can actually push your energy. But for example, something like Vaughan Coleman with Phenomenova, his energy is just
goodness,
prodigious. And so, when people have great energy, it's hard not to respond to it. You know what I mean? We try to put, but with our cake, we try not to do. We do have people known us since the beginning, so obviously we're going to, I won't say be biased, but the longer you know somebody, the deeper the cut. So you're going to be loyal to your base, you know what I mean? Because they've been with you since the beginning, of course. And you're going to give them the energy and the response and the articulation and the support, all of that. But obviously, when new people come around as well, if they're consistent and they offer that energy and they've got the passion, the courage and conviction of the product, we think we can sense it. You can always sense it, Christopher, and that's what we like about you. You've got passion, courage and conviction, that positive, loving energy, And yes, Global Comics are taking the independent. What we like about them, they have the independence along with the big boys, and so there's parity to get your message out because you're next to Batman. Brilliant.
I know, exactly.
So here we go. Bianca's saying, hello, John. Glad to see you around. Absolutely. We like that. Lovely comment, Bianca. We like that. And we remember that night, actually, it went on to be our most popular live chat. So it was great that night. He absolutely, for the first time to actually go and nail it with 170 views. It's still our record for actually most viewed chat. And we love the chat. And we just have such fond memories of that night. It was such a warm episode. It was inviting, and everybody was chatting. John Long here saying, "What's up, Bianca? We like that." And here we go here. I must quite resemble how to the Jean-Claude Van meme with the bloody nose now that I've achieved contouring Hugh Jackman's face. Well, give it a try. I tried a bit of Jean-Claude Van Damme with a bit of nose crunching action. Bianca Yamakoshi, I think that would be cool. Let's see it. Let's see it. Well, since we got corrected from Samurai Sword to humbly corrected, we might add, from Samurai Sword to Katana, we will say that we will be respectful to Bianca in chat. And here she's saying, practicing Wolverine once again. Absolutely, got to practice the Wolverine. And if you haven't seen her, Scott Summers from the X-Men, then got to see it with the kind of like the pouting pose, you know what I mean, as a kind of men's magazine, kind of talking about, I guess, AI and art and X-Men and Scott, you know, being the lead of X-Men, almost like a gossip mag style pastiche, which we like. That's one of our favorite Bianca pieces. Very good in terms of doing parody and satire. You know, that's part of it. You can treat that seriously through your art and get attention. You know, that's another way to actually put a spin on your work, which shows you can take the gravitas, the seriousness, but put that power through a subtle, warm sense of humor as well. Here we go. Practicing Wolverine once again. We hope so. Here we go. John Long's still nervous. You're still nervous? You're going to be fine. One day we'll have you back on the show, maybe for the new issue. Yeah. Then we know we hear you got an issue throughout. Yeah. So we'll have to have a little look at that. You have to put it into the promo so we can actually do a bit of indie comic late night love. We start doing that. I don't know if anybody's seen our indie comic late night love. It's just another way to sell your book. If you get into the indie comics late night love, or as we say in comics, late night love, then basically use the baritone voice, keep it nice and smooth at late at night. Then basically you've got about 60. If we post it at 9 to 10 o'clock, because we've got improved bedtimes now, we're trying to be good with earlier nights, and that some people actually notice you don't keep late, that you keep late nights, and actually say, do you know what, if you want to draw, you're gonna have to go to bed earlier, son. So we appreciate people like that who look after our health out there. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
You know, hey, it's a caring community. We're not just corporate soulless bots in the indie comics A Wild Frontier. We actually are a caring community as well. We certainly are that. So, Chris, let's move along a bit. Tell us about 10-4, which, if that's not our favorite cover, we don't know what is. Tell us about it, please.
This cover came out amazing. I really like this. Is one of my favorite images from the whole series so far. Again, Marcos, you're an amazing artist. 10-4. So, again, new country. We're in India now. And you see, kind of right that smack dab in the center, we see our new heroine. And this hero, it was one of the funny things right up until kind of the last minute. I was playing around with, what to call this hero. And I had all kind of different names picked out for her and everything. And then eventually it kind of hit me. Shout out, kind of divine inspiration kind of thing. We call her Streamline. And it's very intentional, kind of invoking the kind of streamer kind of ideology. Right? This is very much a kind of 21st century, very much a kind of 2025 vibe here. And so she's another one of the 10. She's another one of the heroes. And one of her things that she does, both in a very direct way, but also in a very kind of indirect way, is she inspires other people. And so you kind of see her in the crowd, but you see, these other people peppered through the crowd, who are dressed similarly, who kind of like, are emulating her and everything. And that's both a representation of her powers, which we'll get into when we kind of go into it, but also this kind of, I kind of think of her the Wonder Woman of the 10 universe. And she's this formidable hero in her own right, but she's also this kind of symbol, also this kind of icon, this inspiration to other people. And you see that in the issue, and you see that, represented in a visual way in this cover, these people that she's inspired in the midst of this.
Screaming to different locations. I mean, it's so cool. And everybody else is grey. And we like the way the grey isn't just a flat grey, but it's got lovely warm tonality to it. There's black and white, but in all those old black and white movies, there's the rim lighting, there's different tones of grey, you know what I mean? And there's such warmth to it. It's almost like modeling clay. And we used to play around with grey modern clay, the real deal, yes, for creating monsters from Clash of the Titans, like the Kraken or our version of the Kraken. So we used to have that until his head fell off. You know what I mean? Apparently, you've got to put a wire inside the marionette so that it doesn't fall to pieces, so it helps support the weight. And you put the clay around it, but we didn't realise that at the time. You know, we're just starting off. But we like that, almost like the people in the background, almost like grey statuettes. But she's streaming to different locations, and she can. Well, we don't want to say anything about her powers, but it's probably best you read it. So let's have a little look at the inside of the first issue. Tell us.
Yeah, in the setup here, and again, we're in India now, and you kind of have, kind of a classic, almost kind of like, action movie setup, right? There's a kind of an older lady, she's walking, down an alley, she gets mugged. There's some menacing guy, he has a knife, and so this is usually when you expect, the hero pops in, Spider-Man swings down and takes out bad guy, something like that. But we get a twist, and the twist is you see this, kind of little old lady on the ground, and all of a sudden she says a name, she says Streamline's name, and then something really strange happens. Her eyes start glowing, and now this old lady, she is leaping into action in a way that shouldn't be possible, and that kind of gives you the first hint of what's going on in this world. Something different is going on here. Something that's going to tie into our hero and her powers, and it's not just that the hero herself is going to come, but she has this way of kind of intervening. We talked about I think we talked about the Matrix before in terms of the movies, and I think both the cover and the first page, um, in kind of the cover, if you remember that scene in the Matrix when Neo is training and he's kind of walking through the crowd, and he kind of sees the woman with the red dress in the middle of kind of the faceless crowd, and it kind of
The avatar kind of idea.
exactly. And then here, if you remember, one of the famous lines that Keanu Reeves does in The Matrix, where he's having all the martial arts knowledge pumped directly into his brain. I know kung fu, and you get this with this woman, right? This little old lady, all of a sudden, I know kung fu.
I know baseball bats.
and, and so this is, I think, for me, opening pages are really important. You want to set the tone. R.J. Williams, shout out. Another a great indie comics member of the community. I see in the chat. But this first page, you want to set the tone of the story with the first page. And I think it gives it a flavor of something. And I want to turn the page to see what's about to happen next. Big shout out to RJ in the chat. I love the indie community. I love the indie comics community.
It's a great community, isn't it? It really is.
Such a great community.
If we just focus on the bits where it's all about the drama inside, actually the community that are about the drama inside the indie comics is now quite healthy, we think, and expansionist.
It is.
At the wild frontier of indie comics, we can compete and support one another at the same time. Doesn't matter if there's a little bit of friction on the shoulders, or we bump into one another and jostle for our plot of land. We can all have our own different points of view. You can have your business plan. John Long can have his business plan. He's got his website. You've got yours. You've got your artist. He's got his artist. You know what I mean? You can have your own support network. There's no one person is right. We've all got what's right for us in terms of our philosophy. And instead of having one corporate monolithic philosophy, you can have your own individual philosophy and do it on your own terms. You know what I mean? The technology is here to stream. We call it Star Trek technology. The technology is there to network with people and work with artists for hire and work with writers and your colors. Find your team. So get your family and your partners involved in it. And you've got digital print-on-demand printers. You've got Amazon. You've got 4 billion people, 5 billion people on the internet. I mean, it's all there for you,
It really is. It really is. And that's one of, the exciting things about being in indie comics right now is, having so many people who have their own strategies, who have their own approaches to it. We're trading tips. We're arguing about tips. We're, doing all these different approaches, friendly competition.
That's a cool idea. I'll write that down.
Yeah. And that's the thing, the friendly competition and just the friendliness in general, how supportive the indie community actually is to one another. I think is something that really struck me when I got involved. Everything from pushing Kickstarters to giving art tips, to giving promo uh, advice and everything else, and showing up for stuff like this. I think there's so many people who just come out to support one another, and it's just like a great thing to see. And some of these people are so incredibly creative in their own right and telling all of these stories that you want to read.
You got John's Longbox as well, doing great stuff in terms of promoting, supporting the comics community, having guests on the show. There's also K-pop Funky as well. She's very good at supporting. She's like the female version of John's Longbox and gets people from all over the world, cosmopolitan guests and indie creators we've never even heard of. So you know what I mean. Everybody's doing their bit. Obviously, there's John Star Million of we call him the champion of indie comics promo, and he's doing his own book as well. So you know what I mean. There's lots of what we call it is grace, gentleness, and generosity. You treat people how you want to be treated. Yeah, it's
Amen.
Amen to that. It is, isn't it? It's that classic. What you put out into the universal mirror, you'll get back. You know what I mean? By having a little faith, a little belief, being gentle with folks. You know what I mean? And misunderstandings will always happen, but you know what I mean. Most people are inherently good and want to do the right thing and to try and support one another. You know what I mean? You get far more from people by being that way, rather than focusing on the stuff that really doesn't matter and is probably very quickly forgotten. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think you're 100% right. And one of the things, in my own life, I'm a person of faith, and shout out Jesus. Um, we're doing this program on a Sunday. It's just like you said, you want to treat people the way that you would want them to treat you, and
Absolutely.
if we all try to live our life that way, we don't always get it right. We have our steps, but hopefully we extend grace to each other. And if we try to do that best we can, then we make this world a better place. We make our own corner of this world a lot better place.
That's a beautiful bit of testimony, and we would like to say that is very true for us as we try to follow the grace of Guiding Star.
Absolutely.
We've got to do it before much
Yes.
longer. We've got to get it. We've just put a little bit here from issue 1's creative team. Is that the creative team that's been with you over the last 4 issues?
Yeah, with a little bit of variation. This has been the creative team. So myself and Marcos, from the very beginning, have been doing this. And so, I write these words and then he turns them into these amazing images, which are just like, wow, I can't believe that, this is something that came out of these hot thought out ideas I had. Like I said, Sal Monaco, especially on the first couple issues, did some amazing job on colors. Buddy's been with us from the very beginning as well, on the letters.
Great lettering. Lettering is underestimated, but if you can letter, it makes a massive difference. I know Star Million does lettering on his Orem Saga. He's got his own style. Makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, yeah, I really like Star Million's lettering on Arium. It really does give it the character, and it really works with the art really well. Lane Lloyd, who did a variant cover for the first issue. Shout out to Lane Lloyd. If you've never seen Lane Lloyd's artwork, as soon as you see it, Lane is one of those artists that has a very unique style that once you see it, it's always going to stand out. Hold on, I think I have the very Lane did for us.
Let's go big screen. Let's get you on. Let's move out the way so we can. All right, see, that's very different, very unusual style. Yeah.
It's cartoony, but in a very kind of unique way. I turned this, I think, into a sticker. So every time at conventions and stuff, I give out stickers of this image.
Cool.
And
it's nice to have a variant that is a true variant. You know what I mean? It's offering something different. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, that might be my best-selling cover when I go to conventions and whatnot.
Really, that's your best-selling cover. Cool.
So it just pops out at people in a very unique kind of way.
Do you know your social media? I know it's here. Your Twitter, you're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Well, obviously, you've got 4 platforms there. How's that working for you? How do you find them? Much the same, or do you find the message is stronger than one than the others? Or they're all billionaire-owned platforms, aren't they?
Of course.
They're not our best friends. They wouldn't wait behind us in a queue for a donut or I don't know. Some nice, well-cooked food or a train. We can't imagine Elon or Mark Zuckerberg doing that. You know what I mean? They want to be first, wouldn't they? So they're not our friends, but
Right.
we're using their platforms by the grace of a billionaire. And then, so we're not really Elon Musk's best friend. Let's just put that out right there now. I mean, we don't know. We don't know
Quite.
this person. He's got his own personality, as Mark Zuckerberg has, as they all have, billionaires. Yeah, but we are the products on social media. By the way, folks, it isn't free. We are the products that they're monetizing. They're
Very
obviously our data to private organizations, and we're getting rinsed. The trade-off is it appears free, but we can actually use the power of the internet 2.0 because we've all been corralled into 5 or 6 social media kind of companies, haven't we? Whereas before with internet.1, basically you had a website and portals of web rings to actually get to know one another. Yeah. And you can still do your own website now and use social media to marshal through to your own website, which you can monetize, and also a newsletter as well. So we'd say have a website and a newsletter as backup, and we're going to do that real soon so we can practice what we preach on that one.
Absolutely. Nice. Yeah, it's one of the things, you really have to be present across social media now, I think. If we're doing the kind of things that we're doing. Twitter has been, I still call it Twitter. Twitter has been my main site. Is the one that I'm on. Pretty, most of the time, every day. It's the one where I'm most active. And it's where I started in terms of my comics journey. And so that one I think is always going to have a special place for me. But I'm on most of them, Instagram. We do some pictures there and everything. They have their threads is their kind of Twitter equivalent. And I
Instagram
try
good for showing the artwork, so very good for showing the
Yes,
artwork.
yes, exactly. It's really good for showing your artwork, and then they have their kind of offshoot threads where you can kind of do more of the chatting.
Mm.
Um, and that one is the kind of thing where it's like you don't always hit on that one, but when you hit, you all of a sudden I've had some 1,000 view posts there a couple
When you
times.
hit on Instagram, you really hit, don't you?
When you hit, you really hit. And then we're on Blue Sky, which is the new one out.
Just started on Blue Sky ourselves, so we'll be pushing that more with the show. Which what we're trying to do is get to a point where we can pump the show to all the platforms. So we'll have the banner ad on each platform and gradually
Oh,
build up a
nice.
reputation. But it's that synchronicity, isn't it? You've got to make sure you deploy all at the same time. Have
Exactly.
all your kind of windows open and that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's often what I do. I'll just have the windows lined up next to each other. But yeah, Blue Sky's been fun. It reminds me of Twitter back in the old days. Before it kind of got all the bells and whistles and everything. It's much more democratic, I like to say. I think I just made that up, but it's like, the big creators and the little creators are kind of on an even playing field with us.
Yeah, we saw a post that basically said that the smaller creators, that area that we operate in, are
Mhm.
basically on lean pickings with the stats we saw. It's almost like the algorithm throttles us, and it
Ah,
focuses on the big guys. So it's very interesting that you say that Blue Sky is a bit more democratic in how it treats the big guys and little guys. So we'll explore your hot tip on that. I mean, in fact, we remember a while back actually when Bianca said to us, actually, "Are you considering going on Blue Sky?" And we said quite haughtily, as we we can only go and seem quite haughty. We don't mean to be, but we said we evaluate all platforms for consideration, and it took us a while. As as guys, sometimes it takes us a while. We need a bit of handholding to get through to Facebook and Instagram. I think we had Bianca helped us getting through to those platforms, and also we took her advice on Blue Sky, and we're on Blue Sky as well. And so what we've got to do now is master the synchronicity, and we'll be like your good self, Krista. We'll be able to say hello to you on those other platforms as well, and perhaps do a bit of back scratching to get those
absolutely.
numbers up. Yeah, because if you go
I will.
wide and
If I'm
build up,
connected with you on Blue Sky, I'm going to do so as soon as I can.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, no, it's a great platform. Then TikTok, I haven't fully figured that one out yet.
I haven't
You know,
figured out. Yeah, I haven't done that one
yeah,
yet.
but I've heard
But
some other creators are doing good things there, so I'm gonna take another go at it. I think.
yeah,
Um,
well, John Long did a nice short for us, but it's actually our most popular video. Actually,
oh, wow.
the trailer for Heavyweight it
Mm.
is done as a short, and it's nearly 1,000 views. It's our
Oh,
most
wow.
popular. It's our most popular viewed item on the 5 Pillars Storytelling on our sister site on this YouTube site. So
Mhm.
we think maybe John Long is perhaps pointing the way by using TikTok like that. Do you know what I mean? So that's something for us to pick up on the TikTok TikTok side of things. Oh, come on, Kyle, hold it together. You've got to pronounce TikTok right. Come on, man. So, right, tell us. We're finally moving on to what we're here for, folks. The main event, a preview. I can't believe I said TikTok. Dear me. Preview of 10 comics. #5. What a cover! Could this be our favorite cover yet? We love that cover. Tell us about it,
This is
Christopher.
phenomenal. Yeah. And yet again, shout out to Marcos for coming up with the composition of this cover and everything. It really, did everything and more that I hoped it would. Um, 10-5, I'm really excited about. It's the last issue in this kind of opening arc of of the story. As I mentioned, each individual issue has been kind of its own story with its own hero, but it's also been kind of building these narratives throughout the issues where you have the backstory of what happened to the 10. They used to be a team, but they've all gonna go in their separate ways, and we don't know why yet. And this issue starts to tell us what happened. um, and so we're going to explore, kind of some of the history of these characters, not only individually but together. This is actually the first time that we see all of them together at the same time, and so we get that kind of adventure. It's almost like seeing the Avengers assemble for the first time or something like that, where it's all these different heroes that we've some of them we've seen individually, some of them we've only kind of heard about secondhand, but now we get to see all of them together, and what that looks like and what their dynamic is and everything. And so,
Christopher, that team is right up there with the Justice League. It's right up there with any team that we've seen in indie comics. Just saying.
yeah, no, I'm so excited about this. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I said, X-Men was my gateway into comics, and Avengers and Justice League and all these kind of things. And so shout out Bianca to Tic Tacs. And so yeah, and so we went that vibe.
Yeah, go on.
And so we see here, kind of standing front and center here, is a new hero we're introducing. We've kind of hinted at him before. We call him Sentinel, and he's Russian, which is an interesting thing, especially kind of in today's kind of political climate. Um, and his kind of backstory, he was a Russian soldier who becomes a superhero, who then kind of goes rogue, and kind of has a break with his own government, in order to kind of go and pursue the right thing, even when he's kind of being called off. And so he's almost kind of the Captain America, the Steve Rogers kind of Captain America of the group, in that
Go on.
he stands for these ideals, which sometimes even if they don't match with what his bosses are telling him to do, he's going to go out and do the right thing, and he's going to be the first one to step up, right? You see, he's the first guy standing in front of the tank.
Leadership, heart, leadership, passion, conviction, courage.
Exactly.
And you know what we like about the, again, color narrative, color palette, is we like all the earthy tones.
Hmm.
There isn't, apart from the Superman favorite of ours, you obviously got the green outfit there, but they're all quite natural colors. Is that intentional?
It is, yeah. It's very natural. Yeah, I work. Some of it's been my suggestion. Some of it's been Marcos's. And we're actually doing an interesting thing here for this issue because shout out to X-Men. A lot of this issue is told in flashback, so we're seeing kind of this past adventure of the 10. And one of the things we want to do with that, to kind of differentiate between what's going on in the present and what's going on in the past, is play with the color. Um, and I remember maybe a year or two back, there was a thread that was going on social media about coloring and about the difference between kind of the modern coloring techniques and the old school techniques, the flats. There was a picture of Spider-Man, right? On one side it was Spider-Man colored, kind of computer coloring the way that we do it now, and it was the same picture on the other side with
This
kind
is almost Silver Age, Silver
of yeah,
Era kind of a vibe. You know what I mean? It's not ostentatious computer coloring, is it?
exactly, and that's very intentional. We're trying intentionally to evoke that idea of this is kind of a silver age or even bronze age kind of story. It's a harkening back to the older stories, and we specifically wanted the coloring to kind of give that vibe. And so I'm glad you're picking up on that. That was very intentional. I don't know. I like the old school sometimes, and I want to kind of give that feeling when you're reading it in
Much
particular.
to learn we still have from the old school.
Nothing like the old school.
Smeagol or Yoda, you decide, folks. We'll go swiftly on to the next slide. We love this. Now, that's what you call a crowd scene. And the idea of heroes as celebrities, the
Hmm.
working with politicians, I guess. Tell us about this page. Very, very intriguing.
Yeah. Again, ridiculous page from Marcos. Yeah, but just
He's
getting
knocked
that
it out the
crowd.
park, hasn't he? He's absolutely wellied that one right out of Central Park.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so yeah, we're playing around with this idea of superheroes as celebrities. They're out there obviously celebrating. They're celebrating the fifth anniversary of this team of the 10. And so we want to establish that that it's been 5 years. And so presumably a lot has happened in that time, and we're getting glimpses of what's going on. And clearly these heroes, their captures are very popular, extremely so. Um, and that comes with its pluses and minuses. Imagine, not only being a superhero but being a celebrity, and all the things that would come along with that, for good and for bad. And so the way in which they deal with the public, you know, is maybe as challenging as the way they might deal with the bad guys or everything, because everyone is watching them in order to kind of see what they're doing and taking cues from them, and even having questions, about some of their superheroics. If you're in the public eye a lot.
Hey, he's not wearing his mask. We just noticed he's not wearing his mask. Is that is he kind of semi-open with his identity? Can you
Yes, and
share that with the audience without
yeah,
any
yeah,
spoilery?
yeah, and again, I'm really glad you're picking that up. And it's one of those kind of subtle things where again, if you read the different issues, you start to see, one of the things in terms of kind of his character arc is this idea of, yes, you are a real life character. When
We try our humble best. Mad at us. You can't stay mad at him since he'll draw a smile on your face right away. Mad at us. What are we doing? What are we doing, man? Don't hit us. Thank you very much. Thank you. You're very
uh,
kind to say so. We try our humble best to be graceful. We don't always hit our mark, but we always try to be well intentioned as we can by the grace of guiding star. Thank
doing a
you.
very good job, I think. Um, but yeah, and very observant as you pointed out. But one of the character arcs for Peacekeeper, this our lead superhero, is he's becoming more comfortable, and more bold in terms of showing his face literally and figuratively. And so the mask on versus the mask off, really has some significance there in terms of really stepping out on his own as a hero and as a public figure.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got to go to the next page. I mean, that's just been absolutely, when the ball goes out the park from baseball,
Yes.
the bats followed it, just right after it. Tell us about this one. We like this one as well. Interesting. Tell us about this. This almost idea of political intrigue. Now, we don't do politics, sex, religion on this show ostentatiously, but you know what I mean. As long as we have clay feet, and as Stan Lee himself, to give Stan some credit, actually, we give Jack Kirby more credit on this show. Why wouldn't you? 8% of the work. Hello. But we would say one thing Stan did say, he was a decent writer. He was a great, great marketer, a decent editor. And what we liked, how he once said about this, when you're dealing with politics, the reader doesn't want to hear your politics. Have your heroes have clay feet, and that you bury any politics and so forth, ideologies, deep within the clay feet of your characters. So that way, your heroes should have feet of clay. So that way, let the reader decide, make up their own mind. And readers do have their own point of view. And that way, you'll keep them on side. So that way, it doesn't matter whether it's red or blue politics. That way, you don't lose half your audience by swaggering on one side of the aisle to the others, when basically most people have actually cottoned on is that basically they're on one side and we're on the other side, actually. Just saying, but hey, we don't think stuff like that. Anyway, tell us about this page, Christopher.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So you see, again, these are very public facing heroes. They're very much in the spotlight. And so, you see them, being interviewed here, this big public ceremony. Some of them are beaming in from other parts of the world. You see some of the characters that we've met in the previous issues. And so this is kind of a nice follow up. And then some of the characters that have only been hinted at before, we're seeing for the first time and start to get a vibe of the relationship between them, even as we are seeing them appearing in front of the world. And I'm pretty political person in my own life. Actually, I'm a political scientist
Go
in
on.
my day job, and so I'm
Yeah.
teaching politics to students, every day, and kind of ways to examine the world. And a lot of that, kind of goes into the comic, not in a sense of partisan kind of way. It's not like oh, you have to be a Democrat or you have to be Labor or you have to be conservative or
No,
Republican or anything.
it's more of a sense of trying to give an outline of the different points of view.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's the issues, right? It's the things that we care about. How again, how we treat people, how we deal with difficult circumstances that have really big impacts on people's lives.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the things I think is great about superheroes as a genre is that you get to tell those stories, those kind of metaphors, right? A lot of people are talking about the current Superman movie, and some of the political themes and everything in there. And I think one of the nice things about that movie as an example, right, is you know it's it's explicitly political in certain ways. The plot involves a lot of politics, but it's not simply a hey, this is this specific idea that's a specific incident that's happening in the world. It's more general. It's more you know here are the principles that we're trying to
Was. Yeah,
really
I mean, would you say you
apply.
you actually have more of a sense of a Star Trek Roddenberry kind of vibe in terms of where you're going with this? Is that the idea that we're trying to do the best we can to get along, to
Which
discuss?
do the best we
Our,
can to get along is a great way
we
of.
we say one thing, at the Five Pillars of Storytelling, we don't care about politics, sex, or religion. We're interested in your passion, your courage, and your conviction,
Mhm,
and the drama inside the in the comic, in the indie comic, at the wild frontier of indie comics. And what we're after is, with how we treat people,
mm,
is a gentle word, to be generous, and we're not after the differences. We could have five differences with people, but we're after the one thing that unites us. We're
mhm.
not after the deal breakers. We're trying to build a bridge to you by
Yeah,
caring for you as who you are as a creative leader. Yeah. And
absolutely,
with our sword of light, very easily we find, we can't speak for other people, but for us, we'll do our best to support our creative leaders. And if we have to fold time and space with the sword of light, we will do. It's something we try to do for our creative followers at the Five Pillars of Storytelling. We believe in it very much. It can be summed up in one word: grace. And
mm,
from that, loyalty, respect, forgiveness, all things come. And now and again, uh, we feel we'd rather be a healing influence. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter about the five things that are different. Can't we forgive those five differences? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about them at all. What matters is being alive, treating people as you yourself would like to be treated. Those things are more important. After the 5 years of the darkness wars, we certainly feel that we bring sort of light to counter abyssal darkness every single time by finding that one thing we can unite on. How does that sound, Chris?
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and I really love that you keep coming back to this theme of grace, which I think is extremely important. I'm still partially on American time now. It's early afternoon there, and so before I logged on here, I was listening to my church service back home. Again, another beauty of the internet, right?
Cool.
The same way we have digital comics, you can have digital church services now. So I'm beaming in back from America, and, the idea of grace, the idea of, none of us are perfect. Most of us are trying to do our best as we know it, as
Exactly.
we understand it. And having that grace, extending grace ourselves because we want that grace to be extended to us.
Yes.
Um, and I think it's one of the
Instead of
things that,
hands like this,
yeah,
hands like this. To be
There we go.
receivers. To be receivers. Yeah.
To be receivers. And I think even in the comic, each one of these individuals that you see is doing what they think is the best thing, even though the way in which each of them has interpreted it is very different than the others. We see, a whole range of different types of superheroes in this story. Um, some people that we might not even call heroes, but you know, some of the best villains, they're the heroes of their own story, because they believe what they're doing is right, and they have a rationale and a perspective. Um, and I think one of the things that we flesh out as we start and now to see the characters together is how they each have interpreted what it means to be a superhero in its own way, and how they, you know, together to do that, how they to clash sometimes, and have different visions of what that means, but also when push comes to shove, how they can set aside their differences and come together. And you see some of that in this issue. Again, it's the team up issue, and so not everyone is on the same page here,
Yeah.
but when there's something that's too big for one of them to handle, you know, we all need to come together. We can't agree on everything, but we can agree on this, and we can fix this problem. We can fight this battle. And I think if we approach the world that way, I think we would get a lot more done. We're not going to agree on everything, but the things that we can agree on, let's tackle those.
Exactly. So can we tackle those together? Can we unite on those? And we're all entitled to have a different point of view, right? We're having a bit of fun in the chat here. We like Bianca's sense of humour. It's quite like our eccentric own. We like to be eccentric on this show, don't we? Of course we do. And sometimes we speak in our baritone, which for those people don't know us too well, we once used to sing Vivaldi's Gloria in a Welsh cathedral once upon a time back in the day. Oh, tick, tick, tick. We'll have a tic tac, but what flavour? Tick, tick, tick. The timers are ticking. Hey, Tim the Passion Olsen, good to have you here. We've done that in reverse, haven't we? Let's try that again. Do we can tell we're live. We're not scripted. We're not scripted at all. It's a disaster. No, it's great. I tell you, Chris is doing a great job leading the line tonight as our resident creative leader and positivity and expert. What's up, says Tim Olsen, and we've said here, hey, Tim the Passion Olsen. We had him on as good to have you in here. We had him on the show talking about his one and only book. What's the name of that book, Tim? You got to tell us, and we'll put the comments up. And what we're talking about, anti-villains. Yeah, we can do anti-villains. Yeah. What Christopher's giving us are shades of color, shades of gray. Where sometimes the heroes, like Wolverine, like Bianca's going to, I think, have another swing at drawing and inking. I think the first one he was having a shave. That's on the pin post. And if you want to, I'm sure that's another thing. Perhaps another Hugh Jackman, shall we say, Tothian style Wolverine coming up, perhaps with big claws, perhaps, maybe. Oh, we're talking anti-villains. We might be. I think Christopher's hinting that we should be. Prometheus, yo, Tim, how's it going, Tim, brother? Yes, Mr. Passion, and we're going tick, tick, tick forever. Got to do a bit of forever. That's our closeness. That's we get to an American accent, That's our Britney forever.
Good one, very good one. Shout out to him.
Anti-villains are a different source from just normal villains. I think, Krista, what do you think about anti-villains being a different source to normal villains? And the name of the book, we've backed issue number 3, that wonderful cover, which is a gateway, a portal. We like talking about portals on this show. You can go anywhere in the world with portals. Just saying. But no, Melvin is actually a great book. That issue 3, he's got himself a real good artist. You want to shout out your artist as well, Melvin? Tim Olsen, you can do. So yeah, Melvin, great book. We backed issue 3 of that. And what we've got here, and now, out now, Zed and Odysseus, full length.
Oh, wow.
We like a bit of Odysseus. No. I tell you what, Odysseus, that might be a good name for a child, or maybe something. Anyway, apparently, but there's going to be a movie coming out about Odysseus, isn't there, soon, by Mr. Batman director guy?
Yeah, no, Christopher Nolan, he's coming out with the Odyssey, which I'm really excited about. Nolan is my favorite director of all time, and so I'm waiting very much to see what his take on the Odyssey is going to be. Oh, shout out to my oldest daughter, Zoe. Zoe and Jordan, my two daughters. Zoe's a classicist, and so maybe
Sorry,
one
which
day
I'll do from the chat. But
I,
here we go. Sid Tellis is the artist on Melvin, and tell you what an artist he is as well. In the kind of Gil Kane, John Carter, Warlord of Mars kind of idea, that sort of thing, yeah. Kind of primordial hero before Batman and Superman, that kind of Alex Raymond, adventure artist, Doc Savage, you know, the Spider, all those kind of heroes before the National Periodical characters came along. Yes, Sid Tellis, and yes, Zed and Odysseus are the droids. Meets Adult Swim. Adult
oh,
Swim.
and,
Yes, we'll watch that with that. We'll have to read that one with a blindfold if it's adult. And here we go. Banky Yamakoshi. No, correct. Just yes, we'll move swiftly on from that comment. But yes, yes, we're having a bit of fun in the chat tonight. I think we're having
yeah.
a bit of a laugh, So tell us about this next slide. Let's move swiftly on, Christopher. This one again, great desert scene. You've got a lovely Black Ops kind of military airplane, and a scene of them being inside together with the Black Ops team,
Yeah.
working with the government. Tell us more, Christopher.
Yeah, and so so this is where we're setting up the flashback. And so the interviewer on the previous question has asked them a question about kind of their first mission together, all those years ago when they first became superheroes. And so we get this flashback now. They're on this plane. They're flying to this location, to this country, kind of one of our fictional countries that we like to in comics, where there's been some kind of disaster, and so they're young superheroes. Some of their costumes are not the same as what they are now. They have a kind of a standard uniform that most of them are wearing, and they're really about to dive in, figuratively and literally, into their first adventure together. And so we're kind of seeing the dynamic of the team. Um, you know, who are the leaders of the team? You see the people who are standing on the plane, the people who are sitting down listening to who's talking stuff, as they're about to go in and really start rescuing people. Which I think, before anything else, if you're a superhero, you rescue people in danger. So they're gearing up to do that for the first time. And again, beautiful art by Marcos, with the old school coloring in this scene kind of set in the past. The desert landscape, I think, came through.
And the way he's got the plane, the military plane, banking to one side, rolling against the landscape, but then you've got that counter roll on the other panel. So you've got this sense of movement. You talk about how to get movement in the comic panel. This is it.
He's a brilliant artist.
Because you've got that Dutch camera angle, which is unsettling, going the other way. Yeah, brilliant.
Brilliant. One of my favorite things about being a comic creator is one of my favorite things about being a comic creator is, when I start, these are just words, and I send them off, and then, people like Marcos, will take those words and interpret them in ways I didn't even imagine. Like you said, the angles, everything, that's all him. And I come back to it, and I'm like, wow. It's almost like I'm reading it for the first time. It's not like, oh, this is not this thing that I'm making.
Because he's so perfectly envisaged it, he's given you a new vision. Yeah.
He gives a new vision. Yeah, it's like I'm seeing it for the first time, literally.
So you're seeing it for the first time, experience for the first time through Lima's eyes.
Yes.
Tell us about this bit. Love this one.
Yeah, and again, you get these snapshots of each of our heroes in turn as they're listening to Sentinel, to this hero, kind of pumping them up, kind of giving them the mission statement. You see how they're all attended to him, and so it says a lot about him as a character, even though he's the one character you don't see on the page, but you are learning about him by the way that other characters are reacting to him. That even amongst all these heroes, he's the one who's kind of taking charge. And you see, the expression on the faces, who has a mask, who doesn't have a mask. You're getting all these kind of glimpses of
almost a sense of Jack Kirby used to do that a lot with the Fantastic Four. He'd have the triage or the quad kind of compositional panel where you've got the lineup of the team close together, so you can see the emotions as a group, the composition as one. a team of 3 or a team of 4. We like that, the way he stacked the composition so you can pan across them each time. Yes, and there's
Exactly.
a sense of mood, ambient mood, yeah, which you can infer the emotions just by panning across them. There's that sense of apprehension. Go, Chris.
It is, yeah, and it's such a simple technique, but such an effective one. That you can convey so much by just seeing the faces, and like you said, seeing the faces not only individually but in comparison to each other. When you see them lined up like this, how are they reacting? How are they reacting differently than each other or the same way? And it really is compelling. And then that last panel is something. It's very simple but very effective. You're looking out the window. You as the viewer, you're getting the same.
Speaking of views here, we've got a lovely question from Bianchi Yamakoshi. Always has good warmth in the chat, good wit, and actually incisive questions regarding particular details. In this case here, Chris, speaking of locations, Kyoto is great if you ever want to write about temple settled scenes. Yeah, so there's a recommendation for you there to submit for you as a writer. You like researching locations, submit for you to think about there.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. I'm
And
keeping a running list of all these recommendations.
you've got your phone there, haven't you, to type in? We have our notebook on our iPhone, and it's been the best ever app. Every idea we have, if we're out and about, gets pecked into there with finger typing like that. Peck, 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 peck.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
And Tim's backing up Bianchi Yamakoshi there, saying that would make a great scene. You're right, Tim. Yeah, Bianchi's got great taste when it comes to ideas for scenes. Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
absolutely.
You're right there, Tim. Absolutely. Right then, let's go to the next page and look at this. The four of them falling out the military plane. I mean, what can you say?
Yeah, again, one of my favorite panels, or one of my favorite pages so far of the entire series. This is really when you see them going into action for the first time. And again, it just says so much, about the team, about the characters, um, you know, who's in front, who's in the back, what expressions they have on their face, just the dynamic action of it all. Like, something major is going down, just from watching this. Um, it really has that kind of, broad, almost kind of motion picture feel to it. If you've ever read like the first Ultimate comics, back in kind of the early 2000s, or some of Jonathan Hickman stuff that he did with various artists, he would really have this kind of widescreen kind of approach.
Widescreen. You said it right there.
Yeah, and so we really wanted to kind of capture that feel, the really immersive, kind of larger than life thing. And again, I think this was a great page to show that. Yeah, and again, the art's just amazing, the color is amazing. Like,
Do you know what? That's as good a page as you'll see in indie comics, folks. It's absolutely perfect draftsmanship. That cascade, that spiral of falling leaves, falling human beings coming out that military jet, that military black ops cargo plane. I mean, it's just, for us, we say that's not even on the consideration list. We've already signed up for the sign up, and basically we'll buy the digital version of 10 Comics issue 5 as Night Follows Day. That's a lock as far as we're concerned in terms of backing. You see a page like that, you just want it. Absolutely spot on. I tell you what, let's go to the next one. We've got some more good stuff, folks. What we've got here.
oh, so this is special. So for the Kickstarter, which is launching soon. Kickstarter. I'm assuming the link is somewhere. I don't know if it's in the chat or not. But hopefully people can see the Kickstarter link to sign up for our campaign. One of the things that we're doing new for the campaign is we're having a tier when you can get yourself drawn in the comic. And so if you want to appear here, these people, they're asking questions of the 10 of their superheroes at this giant rally that we saw on the first page. And so, hopefully there'll be some people interested in this, and we'll have that pledge there. You pledge a bit extra, and then send us a picture, and you will get to be a character in the book, which I just think is a really cool.
So that's why the faces are blank. We were initially confused about that. We thought, well, maybe there are different types of superheroes. who got a different kind of power to make themselves disappear. But this is to do with you actually saying you can actually have be a character in the background or whatever in one of the scenes actually in the comic, which is a very nice premium bit of merchandise to offer, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. Yeah, I mean, I was really excited about offering that. Marcos was game for doing it, so so he did the preliminary artwork and left the faces open so that we can, put them in.
It's a
Uh,
way to include your readership in your story. I mean, how cool is that? That a further way to actually pair bond you with your audience, with your readership. It's an excellent idea.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. That's one of the things that is new for this issue. Again, this is a special issue, I think, and so we wanted to do something a little bit different, a little bit unique, and that was, I think, a good way of rewarding some of our readers, and really giving them a sense of ownership of the comic, right? You can literally be a part of this comic.
Do you have a trailer for 10?
So I think that is going to be potentially um, the next phase, and so we're finishing our first arc now, and then once this issue is out, then depending on kind of what interest is going to be in terms of collecting it all together,
Yeah.
and then going from there.
So you're gonna really you can actually collect issues 1 to 5 into a nice big juicy trade paperback. That would be lovely. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, yes, yeah. Sorry about that. I had something open on the side, but yeah, but I think that's what we're looking at in terms of collecting it together, so that everyone who kind of has been on board up to this point can either have the trade or to bring new people on board as well. Um, maybe even get it into some physical bookstores and whatnot.
That might
Uh,
be the next step. That might be good. Try your local comic shops, try local deals with them. We've got some creative leaders out there. They'll actually do the pub tour, the micro beers, the micro pubs, and actually try.
okay.
So, I mean, would you ever thought of putting a comic in a pub? But if you do the pub circuit, there's a lot of pubs, isn't there, out there? Perhaps more pubs than comic book shops. What do you think?
Oh, that's a really interesting. I hadn't thought about this, but we should actually talk about this because I would be really
Yeah, yeah.
interested. I think that's a
Go on.
whole.
You open to the idea?
Yeah, I'm really super open to that idea. Yeah, I'm always trying to think of kind of
Out the
uh,
box. Yeah, out
yeah,
the box. And you know
out
what I mean?
kind
Out
of.
the box, you mean could be libraries, dentists, chemists, try them all, try different types of retailers. You think, well, they're not a comic shop, but I mean, what do people do when they have a pub? When they go to a pub, they can have a chat, they can have a drink, they will check out the surroundings. Oh, look, there's this indie comic book here, and you only have to connect with one person. That's an extra sale. We call it the power of one. The power of one. One is one. Then you double your sales 100%. It's two. Double it again. You're looking about 5, 7, 10. Let's go through the numbers, folks. 1, 2, 5, 7, 10, 25, 50, 75, 100. Then 250, 500, 750, 1,000. Those are your numbers, 1 to 1,000 in the what we call the Sisyphean boulder. We've got to push through the bulkhead of each bulkhead in the Starship Enterprise to get to the next level, the next doorway. Yeah, it's numeric. Yeah, and to be able to manifest and visualize and get through each number. Remember, 1 to 200, you've doubled your sales. You sell one, you've sold your first comic. That's a brilliant achievement. Yeah, and take the positivity through each set of numbers. Some people even say that the universe works on numbers. Some people even believe that numbers are the mathematics of the divine. So what we will say next, Christopher, is will I like 10 comics issue 5? No, we can't say it like that. Christopher, will I like 10 comics issue 5? And who is it for?
Oh yes, 10 Comics issue 5 is for people who grew up with superhero comics, or people who just got into them, a year ago or 2 years ago, and really are looking for something fresh. And so, again, if you like that kind of old school X-Men, Justice League, Avengers, I was really happy, a week ago when I saw the new Superman movie. It's a great movie in its own right, but it was also like this feels a lot like what I'm writing. It feels a lot like what we're doing in 10 in this new issue of 10. And so, I think that's been a pretty popular movie. And so, if you saw the Superman movie and you liked it, I think you really should check out this issue. I think it has a lot of that same vibe, while still doing its own thing. And hopefully people will like it enough to kind of go back and get interested in, some of the older ones and kind of see, what we've been doing with some of these heroes. Like I said, each issue is its own thing, so you can just pick up 10 number 5, even if you never read the series before. And I think it's a great jumping in point. So if you
So
like old school
basically, in a
superheroes,
sense, you're harkening back to the innocent times of the Silver Era in some ways, but
yes.
almost with a progressive modern edge. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And I've liked a lot of the things that kind of modern superhero storytelling has done. They've brought the genre into the 21st century. You have this new wave of heroes. You have Invincible and the Boys and all those things. My only thing with those is that, because they're kind of deconstructing the heroes and everything, it kind of puts a little bit of a darker edge on it. And I'm still an optimistic guy. And so, yes, the blue lighting is really giving us, is really giving very well. And so I'm an optimistic guy. And so I like some of the edge of the new stuff, but I also like, the classic superheroes where it's like, we're saving people, we're fighting the bad guys. There's a clear sense of um, what the mission is here. And there's an optimism that we actually can make the world a better place. Um, Not perfectly, there's going to be challenges, there's going to be setbacks, but there's a hope that at least some of this stuff is going to get done. And so I feel like if you want something that has a little bit of that edge, but also have that hope, I think we strike a really good balance in this book.
So in a sense, with people like Vaughan Coleman and Ben Nomanova and people like yourself, Christopher Rhodes, we feel that 10 Comics is the best, one of those best kept secrets in indie comics right now, yeah? It doesn't get as much noise, great product, but doesn't get as much great noise as some. And that's why whenever we see you during our indie comics promo, we put our shoulder into you for the indie comics late night love.
Oh yeah.
And we just think of smooth radio, and we always put like a classic, probably some like Dionne Warwick, like Heartbreaker, or All the Love in the World, which is one of our Dionne Warwick favorites actually. Both written by the Bee Gees, same folks, bit of harmony, bit of love. Gotta have a bit of love.
I
And
love
we try to give people that big love through 16 hours. Try not to blush, actually, pull a hat down. We try to give people 16 hours of straight promo. You straight through, and we put it as a soft pin. We try to get past the hard pin block by actually putting the soft pin and leaving it as the top post
yeah,
underneath the hard pin. So if people want some more information, they can go to the hard pin for like the tags, the details, and everything else. Because obviously, we want to credit people. You know what I mean?
of
It's
course.
why people are there. They can see the original post in its entirety, but we just put up the images that represent, like window shopping. Can we go in the door and look into the hard pin from the soft pin? Yeah. But we try and do it in a kind of fun way where we put them as a quad or one at a time. We might put comments, we might leave it mysterious. We try to do things in a way. We try to be respectful of people's work, and we're just trying to show people, you like the look of this? Go and find out more about it on the hard pin, but you also look at other people as well. So it's like looking at what's in the shop window, like you would in the shop window, but seeing what's in the shop and have a good look around while you're in the shop as well. So we're trying to encourage people to go from the soft pin to look in the hard pin as well to see what other books are there, because it's very hard to put absolutely everybody on the late night love one, because you'd end up with sometimes about 16 posts, which dilutes the actual attention of the point of putting out this, to put a firm focus. It can be 1 to 4. We've done as many as a Titan 12,
Mhm.
which is a lot, but it depends in terms of what submissions we get, and basically the energy that the authors of the submissions put into it as well. Energy counts for a lot, you know what I mean? And so, yes, we agree with what you're saying about 10 Comics. It's basically silver era of innocence, but with modern sensibilities and almost a darker edge vibe. So it's an interesting tension point between that innocent era and a progressive era where, hang a minute, what's really going on? Maybe back then these things were also going on there, but we just weren't aware of them. Exactly, Christopher. We can see you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, we haven't got a trailer. Wish we had, but I think we've had such a. The trailer's been basically the preview of issue 5, which has been has been extensive, and we're absolutely thrilled that you gave us the preview or exclusive preview of issue of 10/5's cover, which we think is our favorite yet, and that's going some because each Lima cover has been an absolute masterclass of draftsmanship. You've got yourself there one hell of an artist, and you can perhaps tell him we said so.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We'll pass it along. But yeah, but no, I've been so happy to debut the cover in those pages here. And you know, as you were mentioning, you've been such a great promoter of the book from the very beginning, and so you know, I can only give back a little bit by letting this be the first time that your viewers and anyone else has seen these images.
Yeah, I tell you what, it just having that exclusive, to me, we've had 1, 2 exclusives on the Five Pillars of Storytelling there, and this one's right up there. It's just a privilege, feeling the love on that one, Christopher. Now, before we get to the big 3, or the third question of big 3, Bianca's saying here, I took ages by penciling Wolverine. I mean, how much of a strange jaw this folk can have. Hey, Wolverine's got his own thing going on with those sideburns. I mean, they're even beyond 70 sideburns, aren't they? They're kind of 70 sideburns on Overload, aren't they? So yes, actually, the jaws of Wolverine are their own mystique. I think he's got his own myth that's going on there with the jaws and the sideburns. Absolutely, Bianca. We'll have to check that art out, Bianca, when because we like the first one with the Hugh Jackman doing the Wolverine shaving thing on your pin. We'll look forward to this next one. We'll have a good look at it, Bianca, when we're done with
Absolutely.
the show. Absolutely, we'll check it out. And we'll put a comment there. We can't wait to check out Wolverine's. We'll put here in brackets, strange jaw, question mark. Wolverine's jaw later. We haven't even got the Indie Comics promo up today. We scrambled the jets to make sure we're ready for you. So we'll put the Indie Comics promo up later. But we'll certainly do that. Now, tell us, Christopher, why do you love indie comics? What is it about it? And when did your journey with indie comics begin? Is it the creative freedom? What is the appeal of indie comics? Why not go work for Marvel or DC? I mean, you've already got people from Dark Horse working for you. Why don't you just give in to the dark side? we edit that bit out, Kyle. We didn't say that. Azrael, behave yourself.
But no, absolutely. And shout out to Marvel and DC, by the way. They created some great characters. I would love to work for one of them one day. I have a whole separate document of just ideas I would do with Marvel characters. I have a epic Spider-Man story I'd like to tell one day and all that kind of stuff. Um, but the indie scene, I think, in some ways is the most exciting place to be in comics right now, just because the freedom, the creativity. I think people, and I'm writing a superhero comic, obviously. But I think people forget, that comics, when they started, were so much more than just superheroes. And in the indie scene, you see, across every genre imaginable of storytelling, and to be just in the midst of all that kind of creativity, and like I said, and just a community of really nice people, and really supportive people, has been really, really amazing for me. I jumped into my indie comics journey as a creator. It started 5 years ago until 2020, which we all remember 2020, obviously.
Of course,
Um,
we did the Darkness Wars.
oh yes. And so sitting at home, because we were all sitting at home, with a lot
Indeed.
of on our hands and a lot of questions about the world, and it really started this idea of with the world topsy turvy, everything going so crazy, uh, what would superheroes be like in this world? What kind of problems, could these larger than life figures fix? What kind of problems could they not fix? What would they be different about that? And that's really what got me um, going on my own story. And as I plugged in online, on the Twitters, on the social media and whatnot, and saw these other creators, doing their stories about everything. Um, doing zombie stories. Shout out to uh, Anthony Stokes, one of the hardest working people in comics. I think it was his very first comic at the time. Decay was going on when I first got into indie comics, and I really started to see, oh right, these indie comic creators are doing some stuff. They're doing some really interesting storytelling in different genres with different concepts. The indie art, was really popping off in a way.
And they weren't locked into that corporate Hollywood create by committee model where you
Yes,
must include this set of thinking, this set style of art, and teal. We've got blue lighting, but not having teal and mustard in every single movie. Like Superman's got teal and mustard. We've got teal. Zeus just strike us down the spot. We had it coming. Just hit us with a lightning bolt. We had it coming. No, but yes, in the Fantastic Four, has also got teal
of course.
and mustard color grading as well.
I know.
So what we like about the grading of indie comics, yours has got very earthy tones. It's nothing like
Mhm.
Superman or Fantastic Four.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. And again, shout out to all the artists who've been working on our book and all the artists, doing across indie comics where each book can look at like its own thing. It doesn't have to look like anything else on the market. Each book can have its own tone of
Yeah,
the writing. It can be funny, it can be scary, it can be thoughtful. The concepts behind the stories, some of the most creative concepts that I've seen have coming out in the indie scene. Playing with new characters, playing, with even kind of the people who do public domain characters in new ways. Shout out to Nicholas
yeah.
Mueller, um, Winnie the Pooh,
Main
Timon,
characters. Yeah, yeah.
kind of things.
Wait until Superman comes up. You think people have a lot of fun with him?
Oh goodness, when Superman hits the public domain, so many people are going to do so many things with him. Um,
Justice for Siegel and Shuster, and maybe Batman when he comes up for, as shall I say, public domain. Maybe just justice for all the Batman creators who, shall we say, contributed to the Batman legend. Shall we?
yes, yes.
If you know what I mean.
Oh well, of course, the Bob Canes and everything.
Oh
Uh,
yes, and
the
yes, Bill Finger, yes, and all such forth.
thing exactly. Um, and so yeah, one of the things I think, and I think that's gonna be really interesting because you'll see what the indie vibe
Anchors,
is.
dry sense of humour. We're going to have to wipe our eyes. I think we're in a laughing mode tonight. Yeah. Hannibal Lecter's mask would have served as well back in 2020. Well, we find ourselves tend to agree with that one. Yes, yeah, I think you're onto something there, Bianca. Yes, we'll put that in there.
Yes, you are. Uh, but yeah, this indie journey over the past 5 years has just been really incredible and really fun. Interacting with the people, getting to do these books, getting to purchase and support all these other works
So
from
for
people that
you,
I love.
Christopher, it's about community in the comics community, yes. Whether it's on one social media platform or another, it's fostering your network and trying to appeal to people's better nature.
It really is.
The
And that was
positivity.
the best surprises about this. I thought at first I was just going to make a book, pitch it to some people, people would buy it, and hopefully read and enjoy it. But the sense of community, the sense of, you know, if you ever seen a Kickstarter campaign that was on its last day and it had a couple $100s to go, a couple £100 to go, you've seen the indie comic community kick into overdrive.
Well,
To make sure those
that
books.
way they can rally round to actually support a creator to get him or her the extra 100, the extra 200. We've seen people who are 1,000 short, and
Mhm,
the community have rallied to get them to goal because they recognise the product is important. It's a milestone and it needs that support. Yeah, and whether
exactly.
it's John Longbox, K-pop Funky, or ourselves, where we tried to say, look, this one particular book we were all over like a rash to get funded was oh gosh, we love it. It's one of our favorite books. We're just having a mind go slow. We'll come to it in a minute, but we actually tried our best to put a shoulder into it all week, beating the drum on it. And some in our early days, we were quite naive and thought we find a book, we like it, we just go pump, pump, pump. all of it like a rash and just keep pushing it, just to show our support for things that you have some things that you're passionately drawn to, and other things maybe less so, but you still support them. You know what I mean? But some books more than others we felt were important. You know what I mean? And yes. We just again we respond to energy and just some things you connect with. Sometimes you don't know why you connect with different things. Sometimes it's cosmological. Sometimes it's written in the stars. Sometimes it's kismet. It's fate. You just sometimes it's sense of destiny. Some books seem to just, or some creators take on a life of their own. It's just that seminal connection, you know. Now, what advice would you give to aspiring young creators or creative families who want to get into indie comics? For example, we're going to say straight away, tell us about that book you did, 10 Max, with your son, Christopher. This is a good segue. Tell us about that.
Yes, yes. And so I did kind of a spin-off of 10, kind of think almost like our ultimates or our absolute line, if you think about, the Marvel DC things, called 10 Max. And I did it with my son, my 10-year-old son, appropriately enough. Because he's a huge superhero fan, Spider-Man, everything else. And, you know, um I've really gotten to connect with him by being a comic creator, and he always has ideas about new characters, about adventures, about powers, about things. And he
The
would
mind of a child, eh? So full of positivity and ideas. And
absolutely. And so eventually, he wanted to create a comic book, and so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make sure you get your own book. And so, I would talk to him and he would tell me the ideas and I would write them down and turn them into a script. Um, and I did some drawing myself. I'm not a professional artist at all, but he wanted it, the full thing. He wanted it to look like the comics that I had. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna find an artist. We're gonna, I'm gonna get Buddy to letter it. We're gonna do the whole thing. We're gonna print it. And we put together an entire comic book, 10 Max. Um, he created an entirely new superhero to do so. He created this character called Webster. His name, which you know, is this really great superhero. You see echoes of kind of Spider-Man and everything, but still being his own character. And just my son is one of the most creative people I know. And so this completely off the wall story, with superheroes and aliens and all these different
inhibited about rules and regulations and how you must do a comic, how you must do a movie.
if everything is fair game for this kid. He makes up an alien language in the middle of it. As we see these characters talk to each other, like there's all these powers. There's time powers. There's magic powers. There's the whole kitchen sink gets thrown at it, so to speak. And um, just one of the most fun things that I've done in terms of comic book creation. And the kid is really good. The kid is just amazing in terms of like how creative he is and how good he is at telling a
What
story.
advice would you give your son then, and any aspiring creators then? Because obviously it sounded like your son had the creative lead in your relationship. Father and son, the best idea ever, isn't it? To be able to create,
It
uh,
really is.
a parent to create with their child an indie
It,
comic book.
it
It's a
really is.
great privilege that you've been able to do that together and share that as a father-son bond. That must have given you both so much.
Yeah, it's an incredible blessing. Yeah, I've been really, really blessed to do that. Like, you know, he got to hand out copies of his comic at his birthday party to
Oh,
his friends,
excellent. So the
which was
birthday
like
party, and he
something
had a comic giving out birthday party. That sounds brilliant.
exactly, exactly. And we did a convention together and all this other kind of stuff. It
You
was
did a
just really,
convention with him as well. Oh,
we
that's
did,
beautiful.
we did. We got the table together. He's a great salesman too.
You see,
Um,
go on.
oh, absolutely. So getting people to stop at our table and giving his elevator pitch. Um, so what I would say to create
What was his elevator pitch? If you can share it, if you can.
his elevator. What was his elevator pitch? He does it so much better that I did. First of all, he just is very bold with it. So he would just stop people and be like, come read our comic. Um,
Come get a comic. Great elevator pitch.
um, you asked the question of what advice I would give to aspiring creators, and I
Yeah.
think a big part of the advice is to be like the kids. And what I mean by that is they don't know that they can't do anything. And so, there's a fearlessness there. I'm just going to do it. And I think to be a creator, you just have to do it. Even if you're doing it nervous, even if you're like, oh, I don't know about my writing, I don't know about my art, do it anyway. Um, if you're passionate about it, if you have an idea, if you have a talent, whether that's writing, whether that's art, whether that's, drawing, coloring, lettering, there's going to be an audience for it. There's going to be people who like the things that you like, who like the style and the approach that you bring to it. You have something to express. You have something to say. You have something to show, and do it. Once you have it produced, then you'll find the audience. You'll find it on your own. You'll find it with the help of other people in the community, other people like yourself. Um, but you need to get it out there. You need to get it out there, and so and along with that, I would say carve out time. We have our busy lives, we have our busy schedules, but um,
Carve out
put the
time.
time
Make
aside
time.
to do it. You've been seeing me write on my little notes app on my phone. Sometimes half my scripts are written on my phone before I turn them into anything else because I'm on the tube, I'm on the bus, the coach, going somewhere, and I have an idea and I have to write it down. Um, so carry a notebook, carry a phone, carry a sketch pad if you're an artist. Just get it out there into the world. Once it's out there, you can craft it, you can edit it, you can tweak it and produce it to whatever you want it to be.
Put the
But
clay on the potter's wheel and then start molding it.
put the clay on the potter's wheel. Exactly. That's great advice. I was telling you, earlier today, I was doing church service online. The church that I attend is called the Potter's House. It's a reference to a story in the Bible about God putting us on the potter's wheel like clay and molding us. And I think that's a great image. That as
Ongoing process.
with molding these stories as clay. And so put the clay on the wheel. You can't do anything with it unless you put the clay on the wheel. And so
Absolutely.
that was my advice. And again, be like my kid who will do that without hesitation. Just go with it with that kind of childlike optimism, and I think good things will happen.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, that is sage advice. I think we have that advice ringing in our ears and vibrating in our heart, Christopher Rhodes. Um,
Absolutely.
if the universe was speaking to us, we will listen with ears. Now we've got to put that on big screen.
Yes.
Look at that
So
10 bucks. Can we, if we back five, can we actually get that one as well?
yes, that will be included in our catch-up packages, and it'll be available as add-ons. You'll have 10 max, and I just want to show you this cover. One, this is the hero
Beautiful.
created, and second, this is one of my favorite images. We actually worked with a new artist,
Who,
Scotty.
who created? Who? What the name of the artist?
Yes, name of the artist is Scotty Mann. He's a fantastic superhero artist. You can find him. He's not on Twitter anymore, but you can find him on Blue Sky and Threads and the other social media sites.
Hmm,
Um,
check him out.
yeah, absolutely. He's fantastic. I wanted to work with him also for a long time, and so it was great to finally have a project to get to work with him on it. He actually will be doing one of the variant covers for 10.5 as well.
Cool.
Um, so once you get to 10.5, one of the options will be to have the Scotty Man cover. He just does excellent work. He just, you know,
When you get to 50 signups, then you're going to release the five cover, which we'll keep exclusive to this show until you generally release it. Which well, hey, we can live with that. But when are you going to actually? When are you going live with the Kickstarter?
absolutely. So I'm building up the Kickstarter now. I put the artist Scotty Man's name in the chat just now. But yeah, I'm building up, some pre-launch followers. I want to have a good following before we kick off. So it'll probably be a couple more weeks still. Also, I'm in London for the next 3 weeks before I go back to the States, and so
Oh, you buzzed in
I might.
London. Where have you been in London? Then let me guess. The Tate Modern.
Yes, yes, yes. I visited the Tate Modern about a week ago. Lovely, lovely place. I really appreciate all the free museums here, by the way. I think that's just a fantastic thing. Been to the British Museum and whatnot. Um, been grabbing some good food also. You all have great Indian food in London, and a bunch of other cuisine as well. And so yeah, and so wrapping up things here, teaching my study abroad, and then I might wait until I head back to the States to launch the campaign. I haven't decided quite yet. Um, whether or not I'm going to launch it right before I leave or right after I get back to America, but at least a couple weeks probably from now. And so, which means anyone who's interested in it, you have a really easy task right now, which is just clicking on that Kickstarter notify button. So I'm hoping that everyone, takes the 5 seconds to go to the page, look at it, click that notify button. And like you said, once we get to 50 followers, then I'll do the big cover reveal. So for right now, you have the exclusive. But then, as soon as we get to 50, then we'll release it out into the rest of the world.
Yes. So we're on for the Kickstarter soon. It won't imminent, but very soon. Yeah.
Very soon.
Just before we answer this question, Chris, Bianchi Yamakoshi, everyone is hyped with Superman now, but I'll never trust a man who wears his boxers over his pants. Yeah, I suppose in a modern kind of parlance, it sounds a bit dodgy. Will he be able to follow wedding dress code? Next, yes, I think we're sticking with Team X-Men there by the sounds of it, as in X-Men, I think. Yes, Bianchi, we hear you, we understand, yes. That's a very interesting comment and an intriguing one, so we'll say, yeah. Thank you, thank you for your wedding comment. Yeah, it's certainly taught us something. Yes, we'll keep that in mind, Bianca.
Definitely. And I know that's a big, source of debate within the superhero community. Trunks on the outside or not.
Trunks, no trunks. To be fair, actually, Superman was created in the circus strongman wrestler kind of era, so that's why they have trunks on outside their outfit. But I suppose in the modern sense, that's why there's a lot of people who are team Zack Snyder, because he has the alien suit kind of look, and it's all alien and streamlined and sculpted, I guess you'd say. Exactly. Now, Christopher, what superhero would you be, centering from that the Superman wedding kind of boxer comment? Hey, that's to us. What superhero would you be, Christopher?
Absolutely. So I'm going to give you two answers to this. In terms of, I think, personality and in terms of costume, I don't think you can get better than Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man is in some ways, kind of the quintessential hero. He's not the first, but in a lot of ways, I think he's like the epitome of, all the things that go into a great superhero. He has the best costume, hands down, of any superhero I think has ever been created. And in terms of, being a person, with foibles and with limitations and flaws, but who
trying to be
always tries to do the right thing. And he's my kid's favorite hero. So, that will give me some bonus points with my youngest. In terms of, the powers and all that kind of stuff, Silver Surfer. We're going to get a version of the Silver Surfer in the new Fantastic Four movie. I don't know a whole lot about the Shia LaBeouf version of Silver Surfer. I'm looking forward to seeing her in the movie, but the original, the Norrin Rad Silver Surfer, one of maybe Jack Kirby's greatest creations.
Yeah, I mean, he did. He got a bit of disassociation with that because it got. He did it on the Fantastic Four, didn't he? The Herald of Galactus. He created Galactus as well. There's no Stanley Presents about it. Jack Kirby presents Galactus. Jack Kirby presents the Silver Surfer. Jack Kirby really presented a lot of the writing and the idea. Chances are unknown for anybody who wants to research it, for a kind of pre-template for the Fantastic Four. I mean, really. If anybody wants to know about it, we call the Team Red the Jack Kirby universe, and we say that probably 8% of the ideas came from him. That's just our humble guess, educated guess. And we'd say that, a lot of what he did was he wasn't given the profits and the sales and the royalties that perhaps he could have done for the merchandising. If you want to look at things in the Comics Journal with his interview with Gary Groth. I mean, it can get quite tasty in that one there. But tell you what, we think it's quite easy. Take all of Jack Kirby's 30 to 40,000 pages of comic art and how long it actually takes to do those. Put it on one side. Then take Stan Lee's scripts with the Marvel method that Jack Kirby created on the other side. And then you decide, who built the house that Jack built. Just saying. So I know let's move swiftly on because we don't do politics, sex, or religion in this show. Bonus questions, Christopher. Here we go. What are your plans for 10 comics going forwards? Are we looking at a trade paperback for issues 1 to 5 and then another 6 to 10 kind of arc?
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. So yeah, so first 5 issues, finish this campaign, then the trade paperback of 1 to 5. That's our first arc. I already have the second arc, pretty much plotted out, mostly in my head, but the putting it on the page is the last step. I carry issues around here for a long time, so I know exactly where we want to go. Introducing the rest of the cast. Again, each issue is going to highlight a different hero, and really, the things that we set up in 10-5 in a lot of ways. 10-5 ends on a really interesting note, which I'll just say that.
Yes.
And then the second arc really fleshes that out in a lot of ways. 10-10, 10-10, of course, has to be a special issue. Kind of, brings it all to fruition, and that'll be, the end of our second arc. And I'm an ambitious guy in some ways. My dream for 10 is to go for 100 issues.
100 issues. We're thinking, can this guy, we always say the benchmark for any indie comics for them to really get in our top 5 is, can they make it into double figures? And
Yes.
a handful of indie comics are doing that. You're well on your way to get into double figures, but you want to get actually into 100 issues of 10. That would be awesome. That'd be absolutely amazing. Now, that's what we call ambition. That excites us.
Absolutely. And so let's get this one first, and then let's get the second, set out, and then you'll get to that 10 mark. But ideally, I have a long term vision of what I want to do with these characters, what I want to do with the story, and ideally, if there's the demand for it, if people are liking what we're doing, grow our fan base. I would love to keep doing this, for years to come. I kind of, think about like, books like Invincible, right? Someone a very, a new property, not, a completely new hero and world and everything. And that, book went the distance. Um, and had a fantastic creative team, obviously, in order to do that. And told some really new stories. But that's kind of the model that I see in terms of like, that's what I want to do.
So in a sense, you'll be the Fantastic Four 1 to 100. The famous Jack
Oh
Kirby
yeah, that
series.
amazing
You
run.
want
Yeah.
that would be the holy grail, wouldn't it?
Yes, absolutely. This that amazing, amazing run. And yeah, if I can get a fraction of the kind of creativity that they did, I would be, more than a happy man in terms of, in terms of our comic book journey. But the other thing, as I said, is that my commitment with 10 is that each individual issue. Did I lose you? Hold on. Oh, there you go. Sorry, cut out for a second. My commitment with 10 is that each individual issue is its own story. So if you're jumping in issue one,
It exists on its own
yeah,
as its own piece of work, but you can read them as an overall continuity.
exactly. And so if you want to jump in at issue 1, issue 5, in the future, if you want to jump in at issue 27,
You can
um,
read as is, but
you can
then
read,
actually, I want more of this.
and then you can go forward, you can go backwards, you can jump around. And so yeah, and so I want to tell 100 stories, while also telling one big story.
Christopher Rhodes, you're making us a believer. We like that ambition. That's juicy. That's one of the most ambitious ambitions we've heard on this show. That is absolutely that. You know what? That makes us smile with a big cheese grin. We've got a kind of grin. We're starting to get face ache actually because that is what we love on this show. Belief, yeah, belief.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, sir. Now, tell you what, favorite pizza.
Oh, this
You
this
know
is a
what's
good
coming, Chris. Come on, Christopher.
question.
Now, before you answer that, we've got you can't have pizza on its own. You got to be watching a movie, right? So you need good food, good company. What we've got here, have to watch that Von Trier's film, The House That Jack Built. Tell you what, Bianchi Yamakoshi, we like the sound of that. We wouldn't mind watching that ourselves. Just saying.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I haven't seen a ton of Von Trier's films yet. But the House of Jackal. I have to check this
We're
one
going to
out.
write that down, actually. That's going next to our Radiohead's pick with the
Yeah.
Jonathan Dunn's Creep cover on Corn TV.
Yes, yes,
We're
yes.
going to write
That's
that down.
going on the list.
So Von Trier, excuse me, folks. Sometimes you can type things, but I can either peck into my phone or do it this way. I'm going to do it with the old Bic pen. The house that Jack built. That sounds like a cool movie pick. Bianca
Mhm.
is very good at movie picks uh,
Yes,
in the
yes,
chat. Thank you for
yeah.
that,
Thank
Bianca.
you. Yep. It's fleshing out my pop culture. To do this. Favorite pizza. Um, I've been on kind of a pescatarian kick, so like I'm going a little bit outside the box. I kind of like shrimp on pizza. I know it's not the typical topping, but it's been something a little bit different that I've tried recently. But if I can tell a story, the best slice of pizza I've ever had in my life.
Go on.
Ago, I was in Rome for a couple of days.
And it's covered in Italian ice cream. No,
Yeah,
we're just kidding, man. Come on, you tell us.
yeah. And so, well, I was in Rome, and one of the days we were in Rome, and we visited the Vatican. If you've never been to the Vatican, the artwork, the Michelangelo,
Of course.
portrait of the Sistine Chapel and everything is just amazing. And so, we're doing it all day. It's lunchtime, and we're hungry, and we just go down to the kind of the basement level of the Vatican, and there's like a little pizza shop, and very nondescript, very just like matter of fact. And we order slices, and I get it, and it's hands down, without a doubt, the greatest slice of pizza I've ever tasted in my life.
The home of the pizza.
The home of the pizza. And so, I've only been to Italy one time. I've only been to the Vatican City one time. But if I ever go back there, I need to find that pizza again. So that was my favorite slice of pizza ever. And my favorite topping of pizza, it changes all the time. It's mushrooms. It's, it's Hawaiian pizza. It's shrimp on pizza. It's whatever it is. Margarita pizza. Um, and so on and so forth down the road. Um, Shout out to pizza. Oh, shout out to deep dish pizza. There we go. That's my answer. Deep
Go on.
dish pizza.
Go on.
Uh, if you've ever been to Chicago in the U.S., go get a deep dish pizza.
The home of the
It'll be great.
skyscraper. And what is the best pizza that they do at the home of the skyscraper?
Let's see. Um, Probably something classic like pepperoni. So just get a
Right.
straight pepperoni, but get it deep dish. It'll blow your mind. Like the thickness of the crust, the
Mm,
cheese, the whole thing.
right, yeah. Can you get a good vegetarian pizza option there? Just saying,
You
those people
You
who don't
can,
eat.
yeah, you can, you can. Yeah, I've had some good vegetarian pizzas as well. Get some mushrooms, get some spinach or whatever floats your boat. Um,
All right then. So, hey, Christopher Rhodes is all about the pizzas and floating the boat on pizzas. Home of the skyscraper, home of the pizza. I tell you what, that's a double whammy on pizzas. Probably one of our best pizza answers we've had on the show so far, folks. I really like good answers on pizza. Just saying. Right then, number 8, final question. Where can they find out more info about 10 comics?
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, hit up our new Kickstarter page. Thanks for giving the link there. It's 10 1 through 5. And so it'll have the new issue. It'll have all the back issues. If people want to catch up on it. We are also on Global Comics. The first 2 issues are up there if you like digital um, comics. And so, just search for 10 and hit me up on social media, especially on Twitter or X, I guess it is now. I'm on there pretty much every day. So if you have any questions or just want to shoot the breeze about comics or about movies or about pizza, I'm more than happy to strike up a conversation there. So any question or thought, big or small or in between, hit me up on my X profile. Is
And if you
10.
want to sign up for your crowdfunder,
Oh yes, please go to Kickstarter. Go to the Kickstarter projects.
we have.
It's Christopher Rhodes 10 1 through 5, and just click that notify button. And even if you're just curious, even if it's just like, I want to check it out, hit that notify so that you'll get the the email when it launches. I think we have something really good. So sign up, tell your friends to sign up, and we'll get our cover reveal. You'll get the option of getting what I think is a pretty good comic.
I'll tell you what, Christopher, what do we say here? You have blown us away with your positivity, your grace, your gentleness, the generosity of your time, weighing in at 10 minutes shy, 12 minutes shy, 11 minutes shy of a 3-hour stream.
Oh, wow.
Your relentlessly positive grace. Grace is just a word. From it comes everything. And you've been probably one of our standout guests, one of our best guests ever, for that energy is transformative. Effort is attractive. And that positivity brings healing, it brings people together, it builds bridges, it's grace, it's that gentle word, it's you building bridges with your son, with the broader community. In many ways, you're the perfect 5 Pillars of Storytelling guest, because it's all about that gentle word, having time for people, to come together, as you've said, at the wide frontier of indie comics. It makes a big difference, yeah. Rather than focusing on what divides us, you're very much focused on what unites us, yeah. It doesn't matter about the areas we disagree. It doesn't matter that somebody does X, Y, or Z. What matters is that one thing that we can support people through, that you can recognize somebody's value and they in return can support you. So it's a two-way street, So we salute you, sir, as a positive voice in the indie comics community. Absolutely. And we will say then to our boilerplate, thank you. Thank you for being our special guest and creative leader and resident expert for this episode. Yeah. We wish you well and Godspeed, Christopher Rhodes, and your son for the 10 max, because we think we'll back that as well with our 10 issue 5. We've got to do that because we thought it was a brilliant, brilliant example of a father and son working side by side, a bit like that Queen song, Father to Son. And we'd say, please like, comment, and subscribe to Christopher on X. And it's free to do. It only takes a second. And we'd say, please like, comment, and follow, subscribe, whatever you call it. You log in and just hit the follow like button on YouTube for us as well, the 5 Pillars of Storytelling. So we can share, we can actually help give a gentle word to creators and shine a brighter light on the creative passion, the courage of the comics trying to get out, and the conviction to keep going, which is what Christopher Rhodes separates him from some of the pack. You know what I mean? He's already on his 5th issue pending, and he's got aims for a year, not only hitting double figures, but also he wants to go for the 100. And for that excites us. We like the energy in that.
Absolutely. And just thank you so much. This has been one of my favorite interviews that I've done of anything, much less comics.
You'll turn our head, sir. Please keep going. I've always say thank you to the chat. Ever, Bianca and ourselves, we do share a bit of a crazy sense of humor. But keep going, Chris. Go on, Chris. Go and do an ever. Go on, you can do it. Britney Spears. Ever.
Oh my goodness! But yeah, but no, shout out so much. This has been an incredible conversation. The time just flew by, and I really appreciate the dedication you have to promoting indie comics and the care and the attention to detail you put into this, the presentation, the way I think you present our work better than we do sometimes as creators, and so we really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And shout out to the audience, to everyone who's in the chat. We have great creators in the chat in their own right, and getting to engage back and forth with you all as well. Again, that community, I think, is something that's really big here. And so thank you all, everybody, that I've got a chance to talk with tonight. I really appreciate it.
Well, we just said thank you very much for the chat leadership tonight. It looks like Bianca has enjoyed the chat tonight, and we enjoy it too. We're a bit laugh out loud ourselves, actually, and we've got face ache. You might not like it with our moody, broody face. We're just born with this face. That's all. That's all we could say in our defence. We were born with this humble face. We don't look in mirrors. Honestly, we hate mirrors. And we say thank you for the chat leadership tonight, Bianca. Positive, witty, and charming. A lot of charm and intellectual contributions as well with the movie picks and so forth, and particularly the question on reference is something writers and particular artists can wrestle with. So that was a vital contribution, actually. And we'd like to say thank you to the other people like Tim and RJ for coming into our chat tonight. Really, really appreciate it. So the only thing we can say is thank you once again for your great positive voice, Christopher Rhodes, and 10 Comics. And tell your son, great salesmanship. You know, to me, it sounds like he's the marketeer in the family and you're the writer, creator in the family. That sounds like a good double whammy team, man. So tonight we're going to do our signature song, which kind of gives a positive, happy ending to the show. We're going to add it to the stage right now. Listen to this. Amen. Yes, really enjoy that one, folks. Great stuff. Right, if we end the stream there. And